Hello, I'm Eagle Gardens 1 on Instagram, and this is fucking talking shit with Eagle, episode 832. Mr. Tim Blake in the house. Wow, am I looking forward to this. How you been, my friend? It's been 2 years, and let's see here. It's like the 23rd. It's 2 years and 10 days since the last time we spoke. How you
Well,
been?
I tell you what, it feels like a lifetime. I'm doing okay. I'm hanging in there like we were talking about. But 2 years, I tell you what, in cannabis, cannabis years, it's like like I said, 20, something a lifetime. It's amazing.
You were quite busy the last time we spoke. Let's see here. If I remember correctly, you were getting ready to crack a third novel, which I don't know how you find time to write and do everything that you do. Amongst putting together an amazing cup, you were starting, or you were a year into the microdosing.
Oh,
And
that's right. That's
so
right.
I guess let's pick up from there. Did you write the third book? How's that coming?
That was the trip. We talked before. I'd written my first book. I got a literary agent. I got a publisher, and then I wrote that first book, wrote for them, which was Leap of Fate, and they decided that they wanted to see all my material so they could do the TV show, and then they asked me to write the next book. I think that's when we came in. So
Mhm.
all of a sudden, I spent a year and a half. Anybody that's written a book, it's a lot to write a book that's a beginning, middle, and an end with a good story, and it sounds, right. It's not easy to do. And I looked at him and said, okay. And my literary agent said, yeah, you got to do it because it's a better story. I did write that third book. It's tentatively called Road to the Emerald Cup, An Outlaw's Spiritual Journey. And so it took me a year and a half to write that next book. So over the last 2 years, it's taken me most of that time to write that book in between everything. When I got done, I realized they were right. And so did everybody else, because it starts off with me in a bathtub, being robbed and hogtied, almost murdered. It's a very, very impactful opening. The story is just rocks, and without going into it, I can see why they wanted it. So it goes into the first two Emerald Cups. It goes into the United Cannabis Ministry, all this crazy stuff with this maniac guy that stalked me. And I can see where they like it. So it went out to publishers about 5 months ago, and we're just waiting. There's a couple of people. We almost had one deal, and we're just kind of looking at the whole thing. So, after all that time, I've got three books now, and hopefully it'll be sold in the next couple of months, and it'll be published.
That's awesome. I can't wait to get my hands on some of them myself. I hopefully in an audible form. I enjoy the cover copies or books, physical copies of books. But life's so damn demanding. It's hard to actually sit down and find time to, read the physical copy. I love Audible just so I can just, do my thing and ingest some good stuff while I'm.
You know what? We're going to start the Audible book this week, and the reason why I didn't get started a couple of weeks earlier was because I've been smoking so much pot the last month that my lungs aren't sharp enough to be like, you can't do any or you can't have that when you're doing a book. You got to be really tight, and so I got to quit smoking for a little bit, and then we're going to do that book because you're right. Most people, I'm in the same way. I can sit down and get in the car and do a podcast or a book or something, and it's great, doing my day, and it just goes by. For me to sit down and read a book or read something, it's not that easy to do, you know. But you need the book for the Audible, and you need the written book for the Audible book, and then you need it for the TV show too. So you gotta write it to begin with.
Right on. So it sounds like, if I'm guessing correctly here, you will be the narrator of the book.
Oh yeah, no, I'm going to narrate the book. They already like my voice. We're going to pull that in there, and and then we're going to just see what happens with the major publishers here in the next month or two. And I really wanted to publish it before the 20th anniversary, and major publishers are a year out. And so because we just gave it to them, and if we close the deal, it's going to be a year out. I've actually thought about just self-publishing because I don't want to wait that long, because so much is going on in the world right now. And we're going to live in a whole different world in 2 years. And so I don't know, but I'm just being patient. We're just looking at it and we're going to see where it goes.
Right on. Well, that makes me even more excited to hear that you'll be narrating the book that I'll be listening to. That adds so much to the book when the author narrates it. I just, you get the feeling, you know what I mean? It helps take you there. It adds so much more. So that's awesome.
It does. Well, there's no dialogue in my book. So that's why it's a very unique thing. There's no dialogue. And I thought that was wrong at one point because it was like, how do you do books without dialogue? My literary agent out of New York, who's huge, she said, no, Tim, don't ever put dialogue in this. I go inside, put headphones on and channel the writing. So I'd say I take you right in there. So I immerse you into the story anyway, without any dialogue. And so that's it's kind of a unique thing a few people can do that, but not many. It's really kind of a little art form.
Right on. I'm sure it's going to be great. That's 100%. Uh, so how has are you still microdosing daily? I mean, that was still somewhat
Yeah.
new and life changing at that point.
Microdoses have become 100 times bigger since we talked. They're all over the country. They're all over the world. Boy, we talked back then. There was uh, Dave Asprey who wrote the book Game Changer about all these Fortune 500 people microdosing 5 years ago or 6 years ago, but it was still just kind of the high end people doing it. Then when we talked, it was all starting to break down. Now it's in every street corner. Everybody you talk to has got on the West Coast. I'll tell you how much it's dropped. 100 pounds of mushrooms 2 years ago when we were talking was $1,200. Now on the West Coast, it's 250 because there's so much production going on. It has blown the market right out. It's just massive. The Asians came in, God bless them. They worked the shit. The Hispanics took over the cannabis. Asians took over the mushrooms, and they just are cranking them out. And so you're seeing mushrooms cheap. And so chocolate bars, products are cheap. It's just going everywhere. People are using it. I got to say, a lot of it's not organic or clean, and I don't think it's quite as good a high. We do a very clean organic product. I'm always about organic, especially with mushrooms because they uptake anything. So if you use a regular grain growing a mushroom, you're going to take up glyphosate and Roundup and all kinds of shit into that mushroom, and that's not a good thing to do. So people should really only grow with organic material for mushrooms. For cannabis too, I propose for everything. But in the case of mushrooms, they uptake that, and it's not a good thing. But yeah, so on the good side, though, mushrooms have just taken off. There's an initiative in California to legalize it with Dave Hodges and the church and Reggie Harris from the Hyphy Cup. And we're going to help them do that. We're going to bring them into our show this year. And I think you're going to see mushrooms get legalized almost as quick as cannabis. I think you'll see federal legalization of mushrooms right behind cannabis.
Right on. Well, I hope so. They definitely have a municipal place. That's for sure. They're definitely helping changing a lot of people's lives. And anything that, we can do to get people off that pharmaceutical chain, that cycle, is good.
Well, and you know what they're doing? There's the same thing with cannabis. The genetics are changing so quickly. First, you had these land-raised mushrooms, which were basically your traditional golden teachers and whatnot. And you saw, regular brown mushrooms and well, not brown, but when they come out, then they started hunting, phenotyping for the albinos. They got into the, penis envy and all the rest of them. And then they started phenotyping off that. And now you've got, the hillbillies and the tidal waves and all these mushrooms out here that are pheno hunted. And they're not only for the albino look, but for the high. Mushrooms, you used to see a lot of the mushrooms that gave you that yawniness and that little bit of kind of laid back. A lot of people that were going to say like a concert all night, they weren't doing mushrooms. Maybe they do acid because mushrooms made you a little bit kind of laid back. The mushrooms they're growing now are, they're like energizing. I mean, a lot of these strains are coming out and you take them and you're activated. And I had one lady who had to commit herself to a mental institution because the cannabis industry cracked her. And when she got out, God bless her, she wanted to find a way to find her balance. And she started checking every mushroom out. And she came to me and she said, I want you to grow these for me. And she showed me the package. And so I gave them to all my guys and we did them for about 3 or 4 days. And she was right. for an emotional mental balance. They were amazing. And what they were these people were putting in like every traditional mushroom you could imagine. It was only a zero point 0.1 microdose, but the other zero point 0.1 was chaga, reishi, cordyceps, lion's tail, everything. And in that package, it was just really making you feel so good. So you're going to see these combinations of things like that coming out more and more. And people are going to realize, God, they don't need antidepressants. They don't need pharmaceuticals. They don't need that caffeine as much. They can just get off the sugars. They can start microdosing these really amazing mixtures of mushrooms and do a little cannabis and be good. Can't hear you.
I said, I hope so. Sugar is definitely one of my biggest problems. That's for sure. Uh,
It's
yeah,
everything. What do you mean? It's what gave me my cancer. It's like they devised a system to poison us all and basically kill us off through all the heavy gluten grains, which turn to sugar in your body, and then the pure sugars on top of that. I was a Cocoa Puff man. I got the first round of those sugar cereals and all that crap, and I loved it. And it made me really sick. I was sick for 30 years. I got cancer, and that's what fucked me up. And that's what's happening to everybody in this country now. Look at all the autism, look at all the obesity, look at all the mental challenges, the depression. That's all the food and stuff we're putting in our bodies. That's the toxification and the stress that they're putting on us by paying us so little that we're all freaked out every day trying to pay our bills.
very true. I don't think we've ever spoke about the cancer. Do you mind speaking a little bit on that?
Yeah, I spend most of my time, not most of my time, but I spend more time talking about cancer healing and survival than I do even THC and getting high. I was a sugar kid. I was raised on that diet in the early 70s. I scraped my knee really bad and had a very major accident. So I had to go on pharmaceutical drugs and whatnot, and it disabled my immune system. So what happened was they didn't know for 20 years, but I got the beginnings of gluten intolerance, which was candida in my body. Everybody has a little mold. When you eat a banana that's got a little mold, or your fruit or your vegetable has a little mold or something's gone on it, you go through your body, but your immune system just knocks it out. Well, when you take a bunch of pharmaceuticals, it dismantles your immune system. It doesn't work very good. So in my case, the candida got hold, and for about 20 years of my adult life, I couldn't figure out why after I ate Mexican food or pizzas or whatnot, I would get numb hands, or I would get the constipated or the runs, or I get headaches, and I just was always sick. When they could finally test me in 2000 and I think 2004 or five, they tested me at the Fairfax Center, and I had three types of mold in me that would almost kill a person. I had sportigatas, which you get from the rooms. I had black mold, which is really hard to get, which is on the walls and stuff. And then I had aspergillus, which you get from the cannabis. And I'd gotten so sick, I would eat a piece of toast in the morning. I'd literally almost have to lay down and sleep 20 minutes later. Well, the mold was eating the toast in my stomach and taking all my energy. I had to lay down. I'd have headaches immediately. So when I got tested, they didn't even know how to test for molds until around the turn of the 2000 era. Before that, they didn't even understand what was going on. Now they can test for that, and they've really come a long ways. Well, they found out that I had so much mold in me that there was more mold than me. They were like, they literally said, look, like 8 doctors were like, do you feel these things? And they were like, suicidal, no memory, no sex drive. I mean, the whole gamut. And I'm like, yeah, I got all that shit. And they're like, we can't figure out how you're even alive. There's so much mold in you that's like, we're not even sure why you're alive. And I was like, felt better because then I realized how sick I was. They devised a protocol where I ate just chicken and green vegetables for 9 months. That's all I ate. And I didn't smoke any cannabis. I did promise not to smoke cannabis so they could dry my lungs up. And they made me stay in bed 8 hours a day so I could rest, because I work all the time. I don't sleep 8 or 9 hours a day. Actually, I had to be in bed 9 hours a day, sleep 8, and they gave me 85 pills a day to dry up my lungs, to make me flush out my system. It was all natural stuff, all herbs, all to basically clean my lungs and my whole body of the candida. And after 9 months, we tested it, and we killed the aspergillus and the black mold, the sportigatus, but they couldn't kill the candida because they didn't realize at the time, they didn't know this till a few years later, that the candida hides in your fat cells. It's very intelligent. So when it's being attacked, it'll hide in the deepest parts of your fat cells and wait till the attack's over and then come out. So I thought I was okay. I went back to my diet. All of a sudden, I've got massive candida now all over me, and it weakened my immune system, and I got 7 cancers because my family has a genetic predisposition to cancer. So then I had 7 skin cancers at once, 3 that hit bone and metastasized onto bone. And I had been working with alternative healers to kill the cancers. I'd gone to the clinics and they were burning them off. And they finally said, look, this is serious. And so I knew a lady, alternative people, that knew about Native American black salve, which is 4 parts that the Native Americans have been working with for hundreds of years that will kill a cancer instantly on your body or if you take it internally. And I took that and put it on my wounds, cut into them, and within 12 hours, all those cancers were dead. The only problem was is that now I had cancer stuck in my body. One of them was an inch into my bone on my ankle. I had to expel it out of my body. So I had to figure out how without cutting it out and going to surgery. My legs were so swollen up. I had 2 EMTs that told me I'd lose at least one of my legs because they were so infected, and my arms were so infected. I never went to a doctor. I used Simpson oil. That's when I realized how healing Simpson oil was. I got this idea to take Simpson oil and pour it in all those holes or wounds in myself and basically wrap them all up. And after several days, it like pulled it out like a pullet. And then all of a sudden I pulled it out and they pulled it out. And then I had like an open scab in there. And so I learned a lot about that stuff doing that. It was extremely painful though. I had a friend a carpenter guy who I told how to do this, and he did one on his arm about the size of a quarter. Mine were like gigantic compared to that. And it was my friend was his girlfriend. And she called me up. She goes, you told me about this, but you didn't tell me how much pain it was. He's at the hospital freaking out because it's like he's in mortal pain, dude. I said, I told you it wasn't for sissies. And she goes, the doctors are down there going, who told you to do this? Who's telling you to put this stuff? And they're telling about me. Is he a doctor? And they're like, you're listening to this guy? And I was like, hey, you know what? I just told you what had happened. So I teach people how to, but then I learned because I sponsored the sheriff's debates the following year, and a woman came in who was the cook, and she heard my story and she said, look, I know all about it and I know why you're going to get sick again because you don't understand that the cancer is feeding off all the sugars and we have to get rid of all the gluten, all the sugars, all that out of your diet. And I can teach you how to do that. And she did. And so she taught me how to live with cancer because you don't get rid of it, you live with it. And so she's taught me how to live with it. And I've helped probably 24 cancer people over the last 20 years. And every one of them are dead because they've all gone the traditional route. And I'm the one survivor because I've never gone to a doctor.
I can believe that, to be honest with you.
A traditional doctor. I'm not, I go to homeopathics, I go to neuropathics. I don't go to traditional doctors getting chemotherapy or radiation.
Well, I mean, the radiation or chemo, I mean, their idea is to just kill everything and hope that good stuff comes back with the chemo. And you know, that it has saved some lives, but it doesn't make sense to me to try to kill off everything. You know, and
Well, what it does, it kills your immune system. And then what you have is a fractured immune system. So you get something else. 2 or 3 years later, you get, something else. And most people, I watched my family go through it. Every 3 or 4 years, they get another bout of cancer and they've got to go back through chemo. And after 3 or 4 rounds, they're worn out. The chemo makes them sick as fuck. They hate life and they'd rather just kill themselves. Where people that don't do it, like me, live a pretty good life. You strengthen your immune system, you don't weaken it. And that's what they do. But now there are, 20 or 30% of the people that do make it through, do survive, and it worked. So I'm not going to tell people that, that chemotherapy and radiation cannot work for people. I'm saying that most people live a very miserable life once they start that route.
I agree with that. So, what are some of the best ways to kind of wean myself off of the sugars? Because that is my biggest vice anymore is the sugars. I've tried
Okay.
to necessarily take the chocolate white sugars and replace them with like fruits and stuff like that, but the craving for sweets is always there.
No, it's not going to go away. You have to learn how to live with it if you're an addict. Like I consider myself, I'm an addict. My family are all addicts. we're alcoholics. We're, we're just addicts. I don't eat one cookie. I eat 12, and so I love sugar. Um, I still use sugar, but what I've done is what she taught me was to move to sugars that don't hurt as much. First of all, it's very hard for people to do this. It costs a lot of money and it takes a lot of dedication. And that's why most people don't do it. But I like to survive and be healthy, so I do. First of all, I went completely organic. I don't eat food that's not organic. I don't. I don't touch it. I don't touch natural. What they're doing to us now is they're making it so hard to afford organic food that they're making everything called natural, where they have all these things on it, say gluten-free, non-GMO, this and that, but it's not organic. So that means it's still the grains, it's still the glyphosates, it's still all the toxic shit going in and poisoning you. So I only eat organic food. I mean, 95%. If I've got to go somewhere, I might do something else, but I skip food rather than eat non-organic. So that's the first thing. Second thing is no refined oils or sugars. I got rid of all refined oils. The only thing I use is organic coconut oil. That's the only thing I put in my body is organic coconut oil. Okay, that's it. And I don't use refined oil and any sugars. I don't use any. I only use I only use organic liquid stevia. That's what I use. And I use a little honey, maybe some maple syrup if somebody has it and it's there. But that's it. I don't use sugars. Now, for a person like you can go and just move the chocolate bars to just be organic. If you can even just start with an organic chocolate bar so the sugar's not so toxified and everything else, that's a start. Then you can find organic chocolate bars that are using a better form of sugar, and you can get the highest forms of sugar. And then eventually you can find chocolate bars you can wean yourself off where you can do them with either stevia or different types of sugars. But, it's all moderation. You don't have to give anything up because it's too hard. Nobody will ever do it if you try to do it that way. What I tell people is, first of all, use gluten-free noodles. Just buy yourself, go to Costco and get gluten-free organic noodles and gluten and potatoes. Don't use anything but red potatoes because all those grains are slow digesting carbohydrates to turn into sugar. And that's the biggest thing for candidas, for cancers, for everything in your body. And that's why they made it that way. Why do you think animals are so freaking sick these days? Dogs, and why it costs so much to go to the vets, because these dogs are all eating these heavily gluten grain diets. They were never meant to eat. And it's toxic for them. So if you just get rid of the gluten grains and you get rid of the oils and sugars and go organic, that's 90% of it. It's not that hard. I go away from there. I only eat clean meats. I don't eat anything that's not clean meats. I eat meat from Costco, but it's got to be organic at least. And I get as much local food as I can, raised food, and I cook everything myself. I rarely go to restaurants, rarely, because you can't find an organic restaurant. It's all going to be canola oil. It's all going to be, and I'll tell you what, if somebody wants to learn what they're all about, what I tell people, go on a 60-day diet of what I'm talking about. Go on, just say, okay, I'm going to spend the money and the time. I'm going to eat organically. No refined oils or sugars. I'm going to get rid of that gluten food. I'm going to be clean and I'm going to be good for 60 days. When you go back to that old diet, then you'll see how sick you get. You'll go back and eat that food and you'll be like, oh my God, this stuff, I can't even digest it. I just can't even go through me. And it's like, yeah, that's what they created. They created a system to make it so you can't digest food so that you get sick. Anyway,
I can
that's how
attest to that, at least for fast foods. I weaned myself off of fast foods for a long time and then took a dip back and had, just a quick stagger. It was convenient, you know what I mean? Rolled in. Oh, that shit made me sicker than heck. Minutes after eating it, I was like, what did I do to myself? But as far as like sugars go, I've noticed that there's like definitely goods and bad sugars. It seems like anyway, like the garbage sugars that I take in from like candies, donuts, and crap sources, maybe even corn syrup based sugars and stuff like that, seems to promote the bad microbes in my gut. You know what I mean? Instead of the good stuff, it's feeding the bad stuff. And that seems to be the times that I tend to blow it up and see my immune system sink when I'm taking
what
in
happened?
bad
Yeah,
sugars.
it's everything. It gives you headaches. It makes you not it makes you cloudy. It makes your thinking not clear. It makes you grumpy. People have no idea how much indigestion. Look, I am the ultimate indigestion kid. I stopped going to school in fifth grade because I basically had the runs because I had candida and my body was blown out. And I had to go, even though I was the best athlete in school and the cool kid, if you got to go to the bathroom 6 times a day, you get to the point where like, fuck it, I don't want to go to school. So I wasn't even going to school for a while. Okay. So that's how bad my digestive tract has been my whole life. And once I learned this 20 years ago and I gave it up and I went to where I'm at now, I don't have any of that. I don't wake up with stomach aches all the time with, the runs or constipation and headaches. And, it's like a constant thing. It's just, you don't even realize how sick you are until you get away from it. And then you go back to that fast food. So I was a fast food person. Look, I lived off fast food. I was raised on that. I love Mexican food. I love pizza, cheese, tortillas, man. You bring it all on, man. I was that guy, and none of it was organic, because we didn't even know what it was. We didn't even know what organic, we didn't know how important organic needed to be.
One of the things I never associated with sugar was body pain. So this
Oh,
last year, one of the things that we've talked about are, I told you a lot of things changed in my life since the last time we talked. I've taken up running. So I've started really running quite a bit. And I ran a 10-mile race in August. And then I told my body, I was like, I'm going to take a break. Just give me through this 10-mile race. I'll give you a little break. And then I didn't really take a break. And then I started working with the chiropractor a little bit, get my back right. And they were like, all right, 1 month, we got to give us a month so we can start pushing things into place and give it a time to heal up. So I took a month off from like my workout activities. And that's when the sugar came back. You know what I mean? I'm sitting around, started snacking, and I was like, why am I hurting? I'm literally hurting worse than the days I was going in training. And somebody said, sugar. And I went, wow, you're right. My sugar intake since my exercise has skyrocketed. So what do you know? Because I seen you give that aha look when I said sugar and pain.
it's pain. Look, sugar is straight pain to everything. It's arthritis. It's in your hands. It gets into all of it. And same with the oils. The same thing. They gum up your electrical system. I mean, all that just toxifies you and it slows you down mentally. People didn't have any of that 200 years ago. People were so fast and lean and mean, you know. And this whole thing about teaching us to like eat more and more grains so they could feed us all these gluten-free grains. And I'll tell you what, my cousin came to me. This is an interesting story. My cousin, who's been like the organic, like health food nut, like raw guy, he's a big guy. And then his brother has been the meat eating macho guy. So I go see these guys. It's Ralph's birthday. Ralph looks like he's going to die. He's all hunched over. I go, what's going on? He goes, I went on to a vegetarian diet the last year. I decided no more meat. I want to be spiritual and be that way. And I go, really? It didn't look good. I went to Tommy, who looked the best I'd ever seen him. He survived cancer. He looked like $1,000,000. I said, what happened, Tommy? What's going on with you? He goes, Tim, I figured it out. He goes, I researched it and I finally figured out all those diets with vegan and raw and all that, all done. He goes, you know what? We were raised on meat and we were raised on red meat, not even white meat, no chickens. He said, no chickens 200 years ago. It was red meat, elk, deer, buck, whatever. And he said, I decided I was just going to go follow that diet and just eat meat. And that's what I've been doing for 9 months. It's the best I've felt my whole life. And I looked at him and I'm like, Jesus, Tommy, you are a testament to watching every diet in the world. And for him, everybody's body type is different. Some people can thrive on being a vegetarian, but for the most of us, we're Neanderthals that were made to eat red meat. Okay. And they've been trying to convince us to eat vegetables. And now they're moving to bugs and grains. And that's not what we were raised on. Okay. And if we're going to, and then they make them all glutened so they can make us dumb and stupid and obese, because we're an obese nation that's one of the dumbest in the world now. And they did that so they could take us over. By the way, you look great. I told you when I first saw you, you look like you've been working out and getting clear and doing it. So yeah, whatever it is good.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I've been lots of running. Uh, just actually ran a race the weekend, Saturday. I did a 5K here in Holton Lake. It was -4 when I stepped up to the line, and it was the
Oh,
most brutal run to date. But when you push yourself to that, you know what I mean. There's always some kind of revelation, or you know what I mean, something worth the effort on the other side. It never fails. I definitely felt great after that. A little, that first day, but you feel like you can do anything after, you know what I mean, after pushing yourself that hard. So I enjoyed it.
running specifically, I was a runner my whole life. I was running in high school. I was doing 5 to 8 miles a day in high school. They wanted me to go out for track, but I was this long-haired guy dealing, and I said, "No, I don't care. I don't care about competing. I'm just running." They're like, "You beat the whole county." I go, "I don't care." But I was running 5, 6, 7 miles a day. I just love to run because I like that high, that runner's high when you get that second wind and it kicks in, and you just feel like invincible. You just feel like so just beautiful. And to survive that in 0-4 and make that through that run and get that done at the end, and you feel like $1 million. You're like, dude, I made it. I did this. It's great.
Man, if I get out there, I hope to we can take a quick run one of these days. I was very so close to this year to making it out there. And then yeah, things got it. I
It's the way
actually
it is.
was
I keep
looking up tickets and I trained it and I had a fluke. Life threw me a fluke this last year on my attempt to get to Emerald Cup. I don't know what the heck I did, but I went almost blind in this left eye. And yet,
what
for a month
happened.
and a half, I was blind in the left eye and had was to the doctor. I mean, 2 weeks before the cup, I'm literally shopping for tickets. And then the next thing I know, this happened and I couldn't see. I couldn't, you know what I mean? I was like, there's no way I could go out there. So and as time went on, I lost it completely. The best thing I did was stay home. But
Well, I didn't realize it was serious, but what was that?
it's iritis. It's a weird condition. It's either brought on by autoimmune problem, injury, or a few other things. And it's weird. They said it's weird. You have it once in your life, and I've had it twice now. And so they're not really sure. They want me to go in, kind of get more tested to see what's going on with my system, to see if it's possibly if it's coming back. But it definitely slowed me down. It definitely slowed me
Oh,
down in my goal for that race, because last year I had two goals. One of them was to make it to Emerald Cup, and the other was to run the Bobby Crim Road race, the 10-mile race that I was able to. I made that one, so uh, yeah, it did set me back a little bit, but weirdly enough, vision came back. But now I watch what I eat. I try to watch, and health is key. I don't risk that anymore.
you know what? I tell you what, I've been watching people you'd never think talk about health and the critical nature of it. I mean, somebody like like a Tucker Carlson talking about. I mean, you think people that wouldn't be really aware of how critical, like for me, like food is, and it's like people are like waking up on all sides. They're just going, "What is this?" I mean, the food's killing us all, and it's like we got to stop this. And you know, it's amazing that people are getting it because you look at it and it's like organic food for your body is the most critical thing in the world. And they're making it so expensive and challenging for people to get. They're forcing us to eat this bad food. And that is a crime. What they've done to us is really going to go down. We're going to write history books about this in the next couple of years as this all gets cleaned up, because we're in the third act of this final World War III. And and it's going to go down in history what they did and what they've been doing since they killed Kennedy, and they've been orchestrated this whole thing.
Talk about a little bit about like nutrient density and stuff like that. I watched this thing the other day on like the evolution of man, and they kind of contributed our brain progression to the eating of red meat or dinosaurs. And the meat that they were eating back then was so nutriently dense that it actually pushed humanity forward. And then now you talk, today, a food that we eat across the board being nutriently deficient and us kind of going backwards a little bit in health and everything else. It just kind of, it almost is a de-evolution, and they're pushing it purposely.
Oh no, it's not kind of is. It is. If you look at people 100 years ago when all food was organic, every person could speak two or three languages. They were all like, look at the pictures and photos of people. They all looked like movie stars. They were all like, there was no disease. No, I mean, it was like, it was a different world. Young people have no relation to what that was. We lived a whole different way since because I was raised in the 50s and 60s when it was still organic and still just normal food. Then they changed it. So I'm part of the end of that evolution. And us today, we couldn't compete with people from 100 years ago, not physically, not mentally, not spiritually or emotionally. Those people were aware, alive people living with the earth. You know, we're all on little boxes eating food out of packages.
Super sad, really.
But we're going to turn around. That could be a negative thing, but I never want to leave it with that with an audience or anything, because that's not the way. That's the world that they were creating for us. Was everybody was going to have a digital score. We were going to have the central bank digital currency come in. They've got all the camps set up. Everybody was going to be red, blue, or green, depending upon where you went. They were going to basically just staple us down until they could get rid of us. And that's not going to happen, because you can see the revolution is on. It's on in Germany. It's on in Israel. It's on in the Netherlands. It's on in Brazil. People are just done with it all over the place. And so we are too. And that's what's going to happen. So the peaceful revolution is going to come in. We're going to turn this around, and it's going to be really, really wonderful. I was telling people I thought it would have been that way a year ago, but they really had to let it get bad enough so people could really see how bad it was, so they would finally wake up and just say enough. And that's where we're at now. People have had enough.
Yeah, I agree. We're definitely going to see a revolution in the way people eat and what they'll accept anymore on their plate. Uh, I like to think that's got a lot to do with the overall push in organics. And I've kind of jokingly said that, but I think it's very true. I think cannabis was kind of sent here in the forefront a little bit to set us right in a lot of ways. Health, overall, much less to dive deeper into the soil. When people try to grow cannabis a lot better and they dive into the organic side of things, there's a lot of spirituality that comes out of that soil in your quest to kind of understand how things work there. So I think it's actually pushing, a little bit more spirituality and people demanding better stuff as they demand better cannabis or want to grow better cannabis. They're waking up to, the parallels between themselves and the plant.
Well, you know what? If you take out the last 100 years, and then you take 10,000 years before that, every civilization on this planet worked intimately with cannabis throughout every aspect of their life. Everybody. And what every nation on this planet did. Okay. It was only the last 100 years, when they decided they were going to cut down trees, sell us cotton and petroleum oil, that they decided cannabis didn't fit anymore. Okay. It's always been part of the spiritual fabric of societies throughout the world. We're just now waking up to the fact and going back to it. And it's just going to be a revolution, because people they don't want to go back. They're getting on this, and they don't want to go back to pharmaceuticals. They want to do mushrooms because they don't want to do Adderall and all the crap. They want to give them for antidepressants and all the crap. And it's the revolution's already here. They can't stop it. They can't stop anything right now. So that's why the ETs are coming out. 2 years ago, we talked about it. Look at how much is going on with it. I mean, I could do a whole 2 hours just on that. I mean, it's all coming at them so quick, and it's just time. So it's a beautiful, beautiful moment in history. Going to be a very challenging 6 to 8 months ahead, and then we're going to have the greatest couple thousand years ahead of us.
I'd like to ask you a little bit about that. I mean, as far as like the ETs and stuff like that go, historically, they've only kind of showed themselves either like when we were in danger, You know what I mean? When the nuclear stuff came out, they kind of like, there was stuff like, yeah, warning, you know what I mean? So is it now that have we come to a point now as a species or humanity that we're spiritually ready, or we've hit that proper vibration to that we can deal with them, or is it we're on the cusp of fucking up, if you will? And that
There's two parts. There's two parts to it. The first half is really how we were created and who created us and where we came from, which was all ET based anyway. So we got to realize we were created by the Anunnaki. I mean, that's without a doubt at this point. There's nobody really, archaeologists that are actually aware or open to intelligent thought are all aware of this. They're Zachariah Sitchin deciphered Sumerian text back in the 70s and wrote that book about it. But since then, dozens of archaeologists have all deciphered it all, and they all say the same thing. Okay, over a 250,000 year period, there were 12 kings and queens of the Anunnaki on this planet. And that ended when the Younger Dryas impact comet hit 12,865 years ago. That's now being proven. It's called the Younger Hydrus impact theory. And when that hit, the Anunnaki had to get off the shores around this world, and they could save themselves, but they couldn't save their civilizations. And that's why all the civilizations are offshore. And they basically got permission to create us. And for the next 1,300 years, Enki and Enlil worked on creating us, and they did. They finally, but that's where you get all the half man, half beast, all that shit in the Old Testament Bible. And so, but then they realized that they created all these crazy things that had gotten loose, and they had to control that. So the next flood was coming in, and they wanted to contain it. And that's when Noah told his son, or Noah was told, to get the boats and stuff. That's all Anunnaki stuff. So they basically tried to wipe out all the half man, half beast stuff at that point. And then from there on, the Anunnaki controlled us. The Old Testament Bible, Yahweh, that's all Enlil. In fact, what they're showing now, and it's coming out very clearly, is Enki was the chief scientist who created us, and he loved us, and he wanted us to go on as sovereign beings. His brother was like, no, we created them to be our little slave workers, and they're not going to do that. They're not going to be big like us. They're going to be tiny. They're not going to have big brains. We're going to limit their lifespan. They're not going to be all that. And Enlil won. Enki kind of got kicked out, and Enlil basically became Yahweh and became the guy that pitted us all against each other through the Old Testament Bible. Christ and all the holy saints, Buddha and the rest of them came down to try to teach us another way that we could go. And it's been going on ever since. But that's how we came about, and that's what started the whole thing. But fast forward to World War II, William Tompkins, this was in several books that have come out. He was the head of the spy program. I don't know if I told you this back then, but I might have, but it would have been different from what I'd be saying now. But William Tompkins was the head of the spy program for World War II. He was a genius kid, and he became the head of the spy program. And he came back talking about the Nazis working with ETs to build spacecraft. They were working with the Vril Society, VRIL. You can look it up, the Vril Society, and they were getting information and connecting with ETs. They didn't give the war up. They moved to Antarctica. And everybody knows that, of course, the Nazis all were down in South America. Well, they pulled back, moved to Antarctica because there were underground bases there. And then Admiral Byrd went down after World War II with the largest naval expedition in history. That's a fact. And he got his butt kicked by those ET ships. And there was stuff that was whitewashed from all the internets of him in the South American papers saying he faced things that went pole to pole within minutes. He came back, and then shortly after this, there was ET pictures of ETs over the White House with Dwight Eisenhower. They weren't ETs; those were German crafts. This is all becoming very, very. I didn't come up with this. This is all the researchers are now that all are agreeing this is going to be what's told to the public within 18 months. And so what happens is we were already dealing with Area 51. We were already dealing with Roswell. We already had ETs in our possession. We were aware of that. We had MJ12 going on. Okay. It was decided that because they had the technology over us, kind of checkmated that we should join forces, and we would kind of try to take control of them. The only thing happened was within 2 years, Dwight Eisenhower wasn't allowed into Area 51, and the CIA and Boeing and all those, Bush and all the rest of those fuckers joined up with the Nazis, and they became what Dwight Eisenhower said in that famous speech the military industrial complex. Beware of the military industrial complex. It's a very famous speech. People have wondered for 60 years what he was saying. He was looking to his left. He couldn't even get into Area 51. He had to threaten the military to get in there. And he realized, he told Kennedy, Kennedy tried to stop it. They killed Kennedy. The CIA, Bush was right and involved in all that. They killed Kennedy and took this place over. And we've been living under a slave planet ever since then. At that point, they did surveys and they decided to look at the whole thing. And basically what they decided was they didn't need us anymore. In about 50 or 60 years, they weren't going to need very many people to serve them because of robotics and automation and all the rest of it. They could just make this a park and get rid of us. And so they basically devised a plan somewhere in the early 60s to do just that, where different people took over the food industries, the medical industries, the legal industries, the military industries, and they just basically fucked us up. Vaccines, bad food, chemical waters, chemtrails, wars. They took us off the gold standard and put us on the petro standard, and they took us from zero credit cards, so everybody had to have a credit card. We had zero debt to $30 trillion in debt. They bankrupted this country. They took us down to our knees in one generation, which would have taken 300 years. And those little son of a bitches almost pulled the whole thing off. They pulled 9/11 off. They pulled everything off. They killed Kennedy. They killed his brother. They killed Martin Luther King. They killed John Lennon. They killed Bob Marley. Any of these people that you look at that was a threat to any of them, they dosed them with cancer, poison, diseases, whatever, and they got rid of them. That's why those people died young. Why haven't you ever thought about why those people all died so young? They died because they got rid of them, and they've been doing it ever since. And they're masters at it, and that's what I've been tracking, and that's what the BT researchers have been tracking, and it's all coming down now because they lost. Because basically what happened was that same guy, William Tompkins, wrote a book 7 years ago about this. I thought I told you about this, but he wrote a book with Michael Salla, and he said in 1986, see what happened was the good ETs came to Dwight Eisenhower and said, if you'll disarm, we will make everything peaceful and everything will live in peace. But the CIA and the military are all like, no, fuck that. These guys, we're not going to go for that. And the bad ETs said, look, we'll give you everything. We'll give you weapons, technology. We'll give you the whole pack. So Dwight was overruled and they went with the Nazis and the bad ETs. So the reptilians and the little grays and all the little ETs have been torturing us all these years and lifetimes. Those are the bad ETs. The good ETs kept working with our military and launched in the 80s 8 spacecraft that were a mile and a half long to combat the military industrial complex. And there's been war in space for the last 30 years. And since then, they had to bring in a whole intergalactic council of probably, I don't know, maybe 100 or 200 civilizations to take down the rebellion, because this rebellion of the Nazis and our military and the reptilians and the Zakars and stuff became like a force in the galaxy that was going around basically kicking the shit out of planets all over the place. From the 70s all the way through like the last 30 years. And all of a sudden the whole galaxy had to get together and come beat the shit out of them. And so that's what happened. Over the last 10 years, that's happened. And it's just now to where we have peace in space. But now what's left is this whole Illuminati evil order that took over the world that's kind of cut off from their masters, but they're still down here. It's, we all know it is. It's the Bushes, the Clintons, the Bank of England, it's the Rothschilds, it's the Vatican. It's all of them. They're all criminals. Anyway, that's that. Sorry.
Oh no, it's a very true. I mean, it's hard to argue anything that you've just said. I mean, there's a lot of truth to everything you just said there. I can't help but wonder again if a lot of this isn't because when I think of things on like a galactic level, or you know what I mean, when I think about space, I think about free energy, 0 point energy and stuff like that. Is that part of that suppression is, the people that we speak of, the Bushes, the Rothschilds, and stuff like that, just again trying to keep us on that petrodollar and keep sucking at whatever resources we have left here, going. I think we won't. I am very much on the record to say that we won't see 0 point energy, free technology, a lot of the good stuff that we know is out there. we won't see that as long as we're based on a petrodollar. You know what I mean? The
Oh,
powers
it's
that
over.
be just won't have it.
It's over. There's a battle going on right now. The one side was going to vaccinate us to death. They were going to force us into the central bank digital dollar. They were going to basically cause a civil war and the third world war and crash this whole world down on top of this. And that's what they're in the process of trying to do. The other side of the world is looking at all this and saying that they're out of their minds. We're not going to start the third world war in Ukraine. We're not going to start the third world war in Israel. We're not going to let you start the civil war in this country. We're not going to let you put that dollar down our throats. And we're going to stop this whole thing in its tracks. And it's very clearly that the Illuminati are losing. And in fact, the people that I'm reading and the best in the world and stuff, they're saying that there's negotiations going on for their surrender right now. They want to save their skins. What I was told a couple of years ago after our stuff, and I've been reading, is that what they did was they got rid of Tesla and took him all out because he already had 0 point energy all that time ago. And that was when the heavy bankers of the world wanted to control the world through energy and petroleum and whatnot. And it just moved up into the ET thing and they just took over. But what's going to happen is you're going to see, since I've seen you, one of the things that's happened is stem cells. I think I might have brought it up to you, but last time. But stem cells, I went to this thing years ago. I told you what we were going to see about stem cells because they demonized it all those years from the embryonic cells and all that crap, right? So what happens is that my friend in the military all those years ago said, you watch what happens with stem cells. So about a few years ago, they found out, oh, you can actually not get it from the embryonic fluid, you can get it from the bone marrow. Okay, well, a couple of years ago, he said, that's nothing. Well, a couple of years ago, they went, oh, you know what? We realized we can get stem cells from your fat cells. It's non-invasive surgery and you can get all you ever wanted. Wow. Now you can go to Mexico and for a stem cell replacement that was a $500,000, it's 20 grand. We just took the matriarch of our cannabis tribe, Pebbles Trippett, who's 84, who couldn't even walk 30 yards without stopping 3 times to take a breath because her COPD is so bad, who couldn't even think straight and have a sentence because she was so challenged breath-wise, she couldn't even be coherent almost, okay? We took her down and she was a little cheap. She didn't get the whole 20,000. She just wanted to concentrate on the lungs. We took her down for her COPD in her lungs. And now people are coming and seeing Pebbles and she's walking across the room. She's talking totally coherent. Her hair's back. Her look in her eyes is back. And that $6,000 has changed that woman's life. $6,000 in stem cells. We're taking her down for the other $12,000 and God knows what's going to happen. She's going to be running laps with you and me. And that was what they said was going to happen. They told me they were repairing amputated arms and brain damage. Okay. And these people are right. And everything is coming true with what they said. And the same people that said that said the med beds are going to be even better. And Elon Musk is building those med beds and they're building them on the moon right now as we speak. And the med beds are going to be what you see in Star Wars and Star Trek, where you're going to go in there and that thing wraps around and it basically restructures all your shit and puts you back together. And they've already got those. And so we're going to be giving that in the next 2 years. We're going to all get free energy. The thing that's going to come down as part of this negotiation that's coming down, we're all going to get free energy. Nobody's going to pay for energy ever again. It's going to be an equalizer and a game changer because now everybody can, it's like when they made it really easy for hip hop artists to get studios and all of a sudden all these hip hop artists could start making their own music, then the record labels couldn't control them. Once everybody has free power, then people can do a lot more of their own shit. We're going to get med beds. We're going to get free power. We're going to get stem cells for all, and people are going to be healthier and shit. And you're going to live for about 200 years or more easily. And that's all going to come in the next, that'll all be in 18 months. That's all going to be done. And then our friends from the sky are going to land. The ETs are preparing it right now. I could show you, there's pictures coming in right now. All over the world, they're making themselves known to people daily, just at extraordinary levels. If you were actually watching the videos that people are seeing and sharing and going out, they're still trying to keep them down, but it's unbelievable what's taking place. So they're now seeing them all. They've got a 7,000-mile long ship that they've seen in the rings of Saturn. Since I've seen you, I've got a picture I can show you right now of there's a place that they took Elon Musk to, and it's in the James Webb's telescope public pictures on YouTube, and I've got it. I can show you which one it is. And when you blow it up, the ship is twice as big as the moon Europa, over twice as big. They said there's 3 or 4 million people in there. In fact, since I've seen you, did we talk about Elon Musk
No,
last time? Okay,
no.
well, Elon Musk was taken off planet to Jupiter, and he was told he wasn't a good boy. He was Illuminati. That's what we're told. And he changed his life and said he wanted to be on the good side. And so they tracked him for the last couple of years. And what did he do? He came back and he sold all four of his $25 million homes, and he bought a $40,000 tiny house and he put it on his launch pad in Brownsville, Texas. And that's where he lives now. And he's not playing for this anymore. He's playing for the stars. And then they told him to buy Twitter to bring back free speech to help save the world. And he said, you can have my money. So people are like, Elon Musk doesn't care about any of this shit. And now the ET people were saying, why did they cut a deal with him? Because he was Illuminati. And they said, because they needed his prowess manufacturing for the med beds and the spacecrafts. So we can heal people and get everything ready to go. And because he's got a decent heart and he wants to change. And so that's why they brought him in. But I've got the picture on my phone. I can send it to you. I don't know if you can get it on your screen. You can show your audience. It's an amazing, it's not a natural object. And it's in, let me see, I got it right here. That's just happened too. I mean, there's so much stuff coming on in the ET world. You saw David Grouch, right? You've been watching David Grouch, that guy following him.
Uh-uh. Tell me about it.
Okay. David Grouch is the military political insider that came forth to all the Senate hearings and talked about ETs. And he's just bringing it out now to the public. And it went from just a baby step of like, yeah, we might have maybe one craft, to where they're admitting they've got dozens of beings and stuff. You know, it's all breaking down right in front of our very eyes. And now there's congressional hearings just demanding to see all this stuff. David Grouch has gone on Joe Rogan 3 or 4 times, and he's already talking about everything that we're talking about. He's talking about it with Joe Rogan because they're figuring it out too. He's like, yeah, we were created by these Anunnaki beings. We're all realizing where it came from, these people, and they're all figuring it out. So it's all public knowledge, but it's all going to become very, very public knowledge very soon. But David Grouch is a major person. Michael Salla, Salla, with Exopolitics. You can go on his Saturday YouTube channel, and he does like a 45 to 50-minute weekly UFO update. And it's really cool because he'll tell you the greatest stuff that's going on in the world with UFOs. And it's like, it's mind-boggling, all the stuff that's going on. It's coming in very quickly. All the governments of the world, the Artemis Accords, which have taken place, I think, since I talked to you last, that's an accord you can go look. It's a legal accord that's been done by all the nations of the world, dividing up space and the commerce and how they're going to go about it with all the asteroids and stuff. They've already found enough material on one asteroid that they could stop mining on the Earth right now.
That makes sense. I can.
So look, this could just be a park. The Earth is going to be a park, but it's going to be our park, not the Illuminati evil ones, military industrial park. They're not going to get the park. This is going to be our park. Okay. And we're going to live this great life where we're going to live for a couple hundred years, and we're all going to be artists, and we're not going to have to work that hard. We're going to eat great food and smoke cannabis and do psychedelics and make babies and be happy and no war.
I hope
We're going
that
to travel to other, oh, no, it's going to happen. And we're going to travel to other galaxies. We'll be traveling within 2 years too.
that would be amazing. I was just speaking with my girlfriend Angel in chat there the other day that I believe that's where a lot of things have went wrong when the Illuminati, if you will, the people that put put the monetary system into play. When the whole monetary system came into play, basically, in my opinion here, uh, that's where things kind of went askew a little bit. You know, we had to focus too much time on making that dollar, and just through the process of working, we lose um, our imagination, our cremation or our just overall creation process. And I think that's very important to life manifestation in general. When we can go back to just chasing our passions, I think we'll see things go crazy. You know what I mean? When you can do that art, when you can, what I mean, contemplate the world's problems, and you know what I mean, instead of having dedicate all your time to just surviving. we will see a lot of amazing things come out of, you know,
Look,
human.
that's, you know, when people have a chance to think and invent and get high and let things come to them, all kinds of brilliant things get created. We haven't been creating that much stuff because we've all been dumbed down and we're on that rat wheel trying to go around as fast as we can just to pay the rent that we can't even make up while two people are working full time. They've screwed us up so good. I don't know if you can really see this. I don't know if you can really catch that. Let me see if I get it with this, if it's better. No, I'm not going to. See, if you look right there, there's a big natural ship that big. I don't know if you can see it. I'll send it to you. I'm going to send it to you because it's clear as a bell. There's no doubt. When you blow it up, I just show it to people and they're like, nope, that's not natural. You're right. I'm like, yeah, I'm telling you, that's what it is. We are going to get that. Guarantee you, at this point, I'll tell you what, I'm who can I say to guarantee something from my best stuff. I've been studying this since 1972 with Dialogue Conspiracy with Mae Russell. I've put my life into this. I've watched these people predict every bit of the last 7 years. I'm watching what they're predicting now. This isn't me. I'm watching all the best people in the world that I'm just studying under, and they've been right on everything. And we are going to have our ET friends here. We are going to be traveling the universe. All this will come in. The meek are going to inherit the earth. And that the negotiation that I saw on the papers I saw were exactly what they had predicted a year ago, which is, first of all, we get free energy. The whole world gets free energy. We get all access to stem cells and med bed technology, so there's no more death like that. We get $900 trillion, 300 trillion to retire the debt of the world, 300 trillion to clean the oceans up, and all the food sources, and 300 trillion for the greatest artistic jobs passion program in the world. And we're going to elevate everybody up into a wonderful place. And then once we're in good shape, then our ET friends will land because we won't need them. They're going to come just to hang out with us because we figured it all out and got it straightened out. And that'll be within 2 years. And then we'll be invited to travel around the universe, people that are welcome. And that'll happen all over. We'll be traveling everywhere. And that's what they're building right now. And we're going to be going into that. So that's the world that we're going into. And it's coming so quickly. That's why the psychedelics are coming in so quickly, because they're opening up. That's why they're allowing all this UFO information to come out. But it's still two sides. It's still two sides. It's not finished yet. Another 6 months.
I think the psychedelics have been super key because I believe they let the mind relax into a state to where we can kind of relax into the frequency of, say, like the Akashic records and stuff like that. And they let us slip into maybe another dimension, maybe, if you will. But it definitely lets the mind widen its frequency or what it's capable of. Without psychedelics, you know what I mean? We're locked into a radio station and with so much, white noise around us that we don't get it at all. You know what I mean? But I
We're
do believe
not.
psychedelics is playing a key role in the awakening process for sure. 100%.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, we're going to go back to the way we used to be, which is where little boys and girls, when they're, 13, 14, 15, they're going to go out on guided journeys with elders and be taught about the shamanic realms and our angels and spirit guides and how to connect with them and how to work with them on a daily basis to manifest what we want. And kids are going to be taught how to touch and reach our creator themselves and to be their own guru. And, we're going to have kids that are going to be much more empowered than the ones now who are not being told any of that, or not being taught how to meditate and how to pray and how to connect to our angels and spirit guides and our higher selves.
And be a nice time.
That's what I like to do. Part of what I do when I help people heal is I do a lot of teaching of meditation, teach people how to meditate, and how important it is, how critical it is. That's why I don't smoke. I don't smoke almost never, except when friends are over on weekends or something. For the last 50 years of my life, since I started meditating, I don't smoke until I meditate every day. I get my meditation in, usually at least one, but then two, and then I smoke, and it's usually the afternoon
Hmm.
for me. Because then that's how I can outwork everybody at my age and do the things I do, because I'm 67. And people, I mean, if you're out there with me up here, I get around pretty good. And it's because I eat really clean. I eat very clean. I meditate and I work out. You know,
That blows me away, a little bit about the meditation. And again, the meditation side of things, I believe that too. Through that process, you're allowing the mind to shut off everything else and, again, reach the same place that, psychedelics is allowing you to get, chemically. You know what I mean? You can meditation, you can reach the same place, but I believe the psychedelics are a shortcut to that almost same realm and maybe a longer stint. The meditation thing, I'm still getting there, my friend. I don't know why I've had a hard time throughout my life getting to the meditation side of life. Earlier on, it was just so busy with the family and everything else. I just kind of felt greedy almost to take that 10 minutes or so, whatever it was, to do it. These days, more and more, I find more and more reasons why I should be doing it. But it does kind of it strikes me on the weird side, or not weird, but I, I would feel like cannabis would be a good meditation aid for those who couldn't, shut their mind down or have the race already going, to maybe, puff, take a quick couple puffs and let the mind ease and then ease into the meditation. Uh, why the other, vice versa for you? Why you know what I mean? Is it your mind's already, is it that big of a practice or you just, you, tell me your process.
everything has its place, and absolutely for a lot of people, cannabis is a meditation, and there are multiple types of meditation. There's walking on the beach and just connecting to nature. There's, you could anything can be called a form of meditation. If you're talking about transcendental meditation, where people are taking like I look at like this way, you're in fifth gear, we're all so manic all the time, we're just racing. And what you want to do is just take that fifth gear and take that transmission and put it into neutral so that it just rests. And when an idle engine is idling, it's just sitting in, it's idling, it's nice and calm. It's not all ramped up RPMs and stuff, it's just calm. So that's what you want to do. And there's nothing like that. I mean, psychedelics, cannabis can move you to that place, but until you've felt the comfort of being in pure consciousness lap and feeling what that feels like, it's really a rush. It's not, there's nothing I can't describe it. So I encourage people to try to keep going for it and learn how to do that. And it's hard because most of us, our minds are going so quick. I don't know if I told you that last time, but the best way to go about that is to, people try to meditate in the morning. It's not, I get up in the morning and I'm all amped up. I'm not ready to sit down and be silent, So if you wait until like 11 or 12, when you're like naturally tired, when you're like, at that one point, you're like 10:30, 11 in the morning, you're like, man, I'm tired, or 1 or whatever it is. You're like, now I'm tired. I can feel like, whoa, that's when I meditate because my mind's not going to be fighting me as much. So for people to, it's like little tricks to learn how to meditate so you can get down. And so that's the first trick is really wait until you're tired like that. And then you're not going to be fighting it. And for me, I wouldn't smoke first because it kind of clouds up the mind. But and then you can do a single syllable mantra like I'm, om, or that. But I was taught by a Buddhist lady, Nadananda, and it really helped me with other people to do a faster mantra, which is a 5 count. So I do Om Mane Padme You can look it up. It's Om, O-M, Padme, P-A-D-M-A, and then Mane, M-A-N-I, and A-U-M. So it's Om Mane Padme and that means compassion for all sentient beings in Buddhism, whatever that language they speak. And so I just take a breath after I get down. I wait till I'm tired. Then I sit down and I just breathe for about a minute and let all the thoughts go by. So I just kind of get relaxed. And then I just repeat that. I take a deep breath and just go, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Then I take a breath and I do it again. when you're doing that, it's harder for a thought to get in than like if you're just doing like, I'm, it's a little easier for a thought to get in. So that the thing you want to do is just say, okay, I'm going to try to do that 25 times. You'll find that after like 5 or 10 or 15, if you're just patient, you'll slip in and all of a sudden you'll realize for a minute you weren't there. And when you do that, whether it's for 5 seconds or 5 minutes, you just meditated and you'll know it. You'll be like, I just slipped. I call it slipping because you're just kind of, your mind slips into that neutral and you're like, you know, you're gone. For me, the ultimate slippage, because I've been doing it for 50 years, is I can be at moments, I can be so lucid that I'll be watching my head fall over, kind of like almost going to sleep while I'm conscious of it outside my body. And like my body's actually like letting it go to sleep while I'm awake. And like I'll be like, wow, watching it happen. Or like, well, I'll come back from a meditation and be so far out there that I come into and I only have my eyes that I can actually function in my body. So for like a minute, I can just be my eyes. I can't move my hands or body. So I just kind of look at the world through my eyes for like 30 seconds or something until my body comes back. And that's a trip too. I really, some deep ones.
You know, a lot of things of what you're describing there, I can't help but wonder if I'm not already doing a little bit because when I'm running, I find a lot of myself a lot mid-run, experiencing a lot of what you're saying, kind of just shutting off and just the rhythm and just kind of just out. Yeah. Especially, I'm getting more and more where I'm enjoying more the just outright road runs. But I do spend a lot of times because I'm here in Michigan in the, some terrible winters. I spend a lot of time on the treadmill and there's
Yes.
after a few minutes, I'm gone. I'm gone. I'm literally gone. I'm just into the pace and out of it. And, it's funny that you mentioned that in particular chant and breath, because that's another book that I've listened to lately, and that's one of the meditation chants that they suggest in that book. And a great book right there. As that's one of the things I'm learning too as I go on in my running journey is man, that breath, learning how to breathe correctly. I mean, it affects so many things. I mean, your life in general. We're breathing wrong. That's what I'm learning in general. I mean, the way we breathe in general, all is wrong. We should be doing a lot more just nose breathing. We tend to breathe through our mouths too much, and yeah, there's a lot to be said. It just we don't utilize our breaths well enough. We breathe too fast in a lot of cases, you know. But that's and again, hand in hand tied with the meditation. It's there's a lot of things that I would like to sit down and have some serious conversations with, man. And meditation being one of them. Uh, it's a great thing. I think more people should utilize it. How do you suggest people take them first steps? Let people like myself. I mean, what is that basic?
Meditation for meditation.
Yeah,
Just do what I just said. I
yeah,
would literally, I've taught 25 people. You know what? I went to a class, and one of the things that when you go to like the TM class is they'll sit down with like 30 meditators with you. So it kind of helps you get down. But you want to just, once a person's gotten down or slipped or just kind of see, you're a runner, so you can feel that when you're running and all of a sudden you're gone. That's you're meditating. Now it's a little half in and half out because you still got to be aware of your body. Whereas when you're deep in transcendental, you can just be a consciousness, but it's still there. And so really all you got to do is, like I said, just try to wait until the moment of the day where you're just relaxed and then sit down and just breathe for like a minute and follow that mantra and just do it 5 times and breathe again. And just tell yourself, look, I'll just try to do that 20 times and just get into the rhythm. Because if nothing else, you'll have a great time just doing it. You'll learn how to chant because it's a really spiritual thing just to chant that. And then most of the time people come back and they say, you know what, I did that. It was amazing. And when you feel it, you're really proud of yourself because you're like, you can't make it happen. It's just something that naturally happens. And but it does happen if you stay with it. And so I think everybody should do it. And I'll tell you what, we should be raising our kids where they're taught like how to meditate and how to connect with their angels and spirit guides, how to breathe and how to work out. We used to have PE, physical education, how to teach kids how to breathe and how to work out and be healthy and be like the best of America. The United States used to be a mighty proud country. If you look at who we used to be, we were the most intelligent, the most forward thinking. We invented all this shit. We we're the baddest ass people. We provided everything. We're not that way anymore. The rest of the world kind of laughs at us now, and we got to get that back, and we're going to get that back. You're doing it. Look what you're doing, and you're going to pass it on to your kids. I'm passing it on to my kids. My daughters run, they work out. We teach each other. We're doing it right here. It's all about education and inspiring people to reach back for that. And remember.
One of the greatest things that I've like about taking on this running thing is breaking some of the stupid stigmas that are tied with cannabis. In no way, shape, or form. I smoke a lot of cannabis, Tim. I'm not gonna lie to you. From the time I get up to the time I go to bed, all day long, I will smoke a joint in the parking lot of a gym before I go run. I feel it has no bearing. In fact, this is no lie. This is a 100% true story. That 10-mile race that I ran in August, I
Yeah.
that was set in stone. You know what I mean? But prior to that, a friend of ours says they're having a cup. They have a cup every year, and I was blessed to be kind of pulled into judging that cup, and it just happened to coincide with that race. Same weekend, same weekend. So the week before the race, I go down and pick up my judge's kit, and I literally dab after dab, cannabis samples, sativa, indica, rubs, edibles, went down the Friday before, turned in my judge's sheet. The cup started that day. I went and picked up my registration shit for the race and then went back to the cup, smoked weed from 12 o'clock till 12 o'clock, got like 4.5 hours sleep, had a medical cannabis bracelet on, smoked, rubbed myself from thighs down with some of the samples, medical samples that I got, knees, inner thighs, anything that hurt, and then went down and ran 10 miles downtown
Wow.
Flint, Michigan, and then went back to the cup after the race and smoked weed from noon till midnight that night. So for those who say cannabis will hinder your performance, you know what I mean? Nah, that shit ain't true at all. If anything, I've found cannabis aids me in so many ways. Like I said, the topicals and shit like that in my exercise journey. You know what I mean? It's been nothing but an ace in the hole.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm with you on that. And you know what? Every person's relationship with cannabis is different. Okay. Mine, is this, but it's like I have many friends that are totally functional and get up and smoke all day long and they're totally cool and they're on it. It's like whatever works for a person and whatever can be good for a person, it works. It's just everybody has that relationship and they got to figure out the best for them. But I even throughout the day, even what we're talking about, I put cannabis oils on my body for my cancers in the morning. I'm taking CBD in the morning. I'm taking compounds and I take stuff at night, stress relief, along with the smoking. So I'm doing stuff. I've packed my stuff in through the whole day too. And I can't get enough of it. The topicals and I still get cancers because I have stress. And so I rub that. I literally lather up twice a day with the finest in the world. I tell you what, I have the finest in the world. If anybody ever wants to find the finest, it's nanotechnology, CBD. My friend made it through UCLA, and I've used the best in the world, and then I've used his, and it's like, my God, this stuff like is paint that it'll just pull that cancer right off, skin cancers and whatnot. But it's no evangelizing for him. But back to what you said, yeah. And I love running when I'm stoned. When I get high and I run, I love that. It doesn't slow me down as far as that. No, not at all. I just I usually don't run as fast because I'm kind of like more into like just kind of cruising and cool and stuff, looking at everything and just a little bit more into the scenery and shit rather than plowing ahead. But well, who cares?
I
But
had, but yeah, I heard you say you can't really, check out on the treadmill. I'm not gonna lie to you. I have nearly hurt myself a few times. Just
when
be
you're gone,
completely checking out. Find myself dripping over and taking that one step over, like kind of on off the belt there. And I have almost drifted myself completely out of, yeah, I've almost hurt myself on the treadmill. Just long runs. Most of mine are like 45 minutes minimum, a lot of those runs, and I 15 minutes in I am literally gone. So I have almost hurt myself being completely
no, no, you're gone. I'll tell you, that's meditation. If you're doing it that level, you are right in that zone. I love that. I call that runner's high, where I'm just like in the zone, and it's beautiful. I
I
don't even
find
feel my body anymore.
it's definitely easier to do out in nature. That's what I'm saying. I'm starting to love that outdoor run more as I get going. I can just kind of this. It's so much easier to drift out with the nature and things around me. I'm not concentrating on any one thing. I'm just more the in and out of my breath, and then the next thing I know, I'm halfway to my destination, or I'm a mile, or I'm in it. I'm way further than I've had that time where I've kind of just, oh, I'm already here. Wow. Wow, it's time to turn around and go back. uh, yeah.
I love that. There was nothing. It was like an addiction itself because it's such a great high. You feel so great in that zone. I love it, and you make me want to go out and run again. I've been walking on these properties for years.
It's all good as
Run.
long as you're getting out there. So, are you a fan of the grounding too? I mean, we talk a lot about a lot of spiritual things, and grounding being one of those. Because one of the things I heard you just mention, as far as the cancers and stuff, is stress. That's one of the biggest things that beats us up is, the everyday grind and, release of cortisol in our system from stress. And grounding is one of the easiest, quickest ways to kind of release, stress. So some of them whiles that you're walking around on them properties are the barefoot. I'm willing to bet they are for some reason.
They are, but I mean, honestly, the last couple of years since we've talked, it has been probably as stressful as life could ever have been in my realm. You've got you got 12,000 brands. When I talked to you last in California, there were probably 6,000 of them. In the last 2 years, now we're down to 1,200 or 1,000 brands. That's all there are left. My grocery store is closed in town here in Laytonville. Hard to even believe. Garberville, the heart of the Emerald Triangle up there. I think like 26 out of 33 stores are closed. I mean, it's like a ghost town. It's an extinction event. So they did more in 5 years of legalization to kill our culture and way of life than they did 50 years as chasing us as outlaws. We saw that a couple years ago, but I didn't realize just what that meant. And it's been amazing to be part of that. And of course, with COVID and legalization and all the rest of it, it's kicked the shit out of events. So we had a rough time. Shit, we lost $500,000 last year on our show with bad rain and really a tough show, just a tough industry. But we gave away $250,000 in boosts just to help people and stuff. So I'm really, and we're okay. We're going to our 20th right now, but it's been very, very challenging for everybody in the industry. All of our land, our properties, everything. It's just been complete devastation. So for me, my heart bleeds for our community, all family and friends and all the people up here. And we're preparing to go to our 20th anniversary in Oakland and really do an amazing show for people. But it's been something for me to really have to accept and look at. And it's part of what happened. I mean, it's simple. And I didn't see it coming. I missed this one. I'm pretty good, but I missed this one. They hated us because when they did all that damage and they took all the manufacturing offshore and they destroyed the middle class and they created credit cards and they created inflation and they ruined us all, they never planned on cannabis. So through the 70s and 80s and 90s, man, that's why they kicked our asses. That's why Biden created those private prisons and the minimum mandatory prison sentences. And that's why they hunted us so bad, because we were keeping the alternative economy and world alive with everything, all the Thai and all the stuff coming through. And they just came after us and came after us. When they finally looked at and realized we were going to go legal, then they said, okay, how are we going to finally finish these people off? And we've all talked about it, but they sat back in their rooms and they just came up with a brilliant plan. And the first and foremost of that was that 280E, that little known alcohol tax from the moonshiner days, where they set it up so nobody could deduct anything but the cost of goods. And when they set that up in California, you're talking about an 80% tax. You're talking about no traditional company in America could live under that tax code. And no cannabis company in California could either. But then on top of that, they went in California, because that's the most crazy place where they just wanted to really wipe us out. And they just added every tax and regulation you could. At one point, it was $160 a pound tax, plus every county tax, every city tax, every this tax. It got to the point where there were so many taxes, there was nobody could make any money, nobody. So everybody was trying to play for brand value. But then all of a sudden, brand value is like, well, no, now you're only, so many times your earnings or what you're making. But nobody's making any money because they're being taxed to death. So there's no brand value. So what happens? 9,000 brands go out of business. You've watched a complete, dinosaur extinction event of businesses in California. And more than that, now out of that 12,000, over 10,000 brands are gone. And it's just an amazing thing to have seen what they've done. Now, it's okay, because I tell people there's a couple of things. First, I said when California went and it went legal, it was going to go legal across the country and the world, and it did. And it's going all over the world right now. So there's no stopping it. Plant medicine went behind it. So I know we did a good job. And by blowing us up, I was at a conference at Niagara Falls last week and talking about this. By blowing us up in our culture, the Dalai Lama was asked once, he said, isn't it horrible what the Chinese did by coming in and running you guys out of Tibet? And he said, yeah, in one way. But the other way is he drove us into the world, and Buddhism became 10 times bigger across the world. So is it good or bad? How do you want to look at it? Well, in a way, it's like they came in and blew us up. But what happened is our culture went all over the country. We're like, I was at that place in Niagara Falls. There's people all over New York now. We're over every state in the country. Our Emerald Triangle and the West Coast culture of genetics and brands and who we are, that we just moved everywhere. And so now it's like, okay, you want to screw us in California, just like, Jerry Garcia brand and all of us? Well, then we'll just move out. Just like, what happened with Joe Rogan, what happened with Elon Musk, what's happening with Oracle. They're all moving out of California too. You want to do that? We'll just move out. I'm not moving out because I'm from here. I'm going to stand and make my stand and take back the state from the, evil they've done to all of us. But it's kind of bizarre, because California, which is a liberal place I'm really proud of, this liberalism has been the worst thing in the world to cannabis and to the state. The deficits and the homelessness and the crime, what they've done to us as cannabis people, this great liberal state of mine has just screwed us. That's why I voted for Gavin Newsom's recall. Our governor, who I evangelized for, they did a recall on him, and I've been going after him. He wants to run for president. I will go after him the rest of my days, because he spearheaded that whole thing to ruin us.
It is so many cannabis dreams. I mean, most people, when they look to cannabis for any reason, cultivation, medicine, recreational, I mean, it's always been just for a little bit better of a quality of life, period. A little bit better. We just want to feel a little bit better. We want to do a little bit better. And they've tried to stop cannabis every step of the way, and I can't figure it out. What is the demonization with this plant? I mean, even when we talk about the legalization of cannabis, now we start breaking it down by molecule. You know what I mean? It isn't even the plant anymore. A plant, you know what I mean? It's the certain molecules on it are so dangerous. You know what I mean? It's crazy, the legislation that's against this plan or has been put against it in the past years.
Well, you know what? They got in, if you want to look at it, just like they came in and controlled all the DAs across the country, so they got rid of all crime or arresting people and all the rest of it. They came in and they infiltrated this whole country, and they just took it over. I mean, both parties, Democrats and Republicans, they were able to buy their way in with campaign donations from both sides, and basically big business and whatever you want to call it just took over this damn country. We became run by them, and so they don't like cannabis. They never have. So that's why they're trying to finish it off. But it's okay because they've lost now. They're not going to ever put it back in there. They're trying to overregulate it, but that's all going to crack here in the next year, and all this is going to go away. In fact, as part of this ending, all the fear-based entities in this country, think about it. If you're thinking positive, negative, love, hate, what do you think of when people think of the IRS, the DEA, Homeland Security, FBI, CIA? None of those names make anybody feel good. We all fear those people. Those are like, oh, I don't want those people coming after me. Okay, well, they got to go because that's not where we're supposed to live in. We're supposed to be supported by our government, our society, and stuff. And it's just become something different. Ever since they took over, when they killed Kennedy, our FBI and CIA sold out and got infiltrated, and we basically lost control. And we already know the DEA was already there. They were already part of the whole thing. That's when they brought all the cocaine in. They brought all the heroin around the world for all these. I mean, they're demonizing us and going after us while they're running all the heroin and the fentanyl and the cocaine and the crack and crank and everything else. And that's what we've been dealing with. And basically, the people that they work for run the world. And that's what's going down here. And that's why I can talk about it. And I'm so excited about it because they're going down. It's all out in the open. It's coming out more every day. And they can't stop it. You saw what happened with Elon Musk at the big interview he did,
Yeah.
where he said "fuck off" to Bob
Yeah.
Iger and all of them. But
Yeah.
did you see what he said was, "If you take my company, you'll ruin it." The guy looked at him and said, "But then your company will be worth nothing." And what did he say to him? He goes, "Yeah, but then the people of the earth can see who you are." He was willing to give up a $50 billion company so that those people could see, I mean, the world could see what evil people they are. That's what he did. Then the other day at the WEF, did you see the Argentinian president? He came out and said the same thing to him. He came out and told all of them that their time's up. Basically just came out and said to all of them. And it's like he won't be invited back. And there was the guy from the Heritage Foundation, and he called him out too. Yeah, but these people they would have never done that. I'm telling you, a year ago, those people would have been murdered. 2 years ago, those people would have been like, their families, everybody that they knew would have been poisoned and shit. They would have got them. Now it's like, it's all going down. Those people nobody's afraid anymore. That's what you're seeing. People are now standing up and going, it's not just Joe Rogan and Russell Brand. It's, basically it's all of them coming out, and it's a mob coming at them.
Oh, that's very true. And it is, you see more and more truths coming out. Again, like there was I don't know if you got that Cat Williams interview that was out like a week ago where he kind of just
Sure.
he told a lot about people in the industry and whatnot. People aren't sitting on shit anymore. They are definitely trying to set some records straight these days.
Yeah, but do you know what happened from all that? Do you know why this really came out? Okay. Who really knew what was going on in the movie industry and the rock and roll industry? Cat Williams did, Dave Chappelle did, Joe Rogan did, Mel Gibson did. There was a bunch of them, but they basically, you got to be really careful because you'll be blackballed or murdered. You got to be very careful saying this shit until recently. Okay. But then what happened was Puff Daddy's gay, and I don't care whether he's gay or not, doesn't matter. But he's been doing these things where, just like Epstein, and like Jay-Z, they control people by basically raping them or having them kill people or doing things on camera so that they're basically their bitches forever. So in Puff Daddy's case, it's now, he basically tried to get Jamie Foxx. They always were against Jamie Foxx in Hollywood, and they basically poisoned him. He had to get the jab. It's half and half. It's Puff Daddy or the elite of Hollywood basically got him, and he had to get the jabs, and they basically fucking dosed him, and they tried to kill Jamie Foxx. Well, what happened was, I don't know which one did it. I don't know whether it was the Hollywood elite or Puff Daddy, but basically they're the same family anyway. So what happens is, that was it for 50 Cent and for Ice Cube if you started following the scene about 3 or 4 months ago or 5 months ago, they all had enough. So Ice Cube went on he had a tour, he called it the fucking Set It Straight tour or something. And he's going on big shows calling out all of them for the shit they've done. Okay, saying, I've had enough. So then 50 Cents jumped in, they jumped in. It became one thing after another, and it became a snowball. Now Puff Daddy's got 5 lawsuits against him. They've now arrested the guy that shot Tupac, or no, was in the car with Tupac. That guy is already admitting that his nephew was the one who shot him. This is all going to go down. And what it was Puff Daddy did rape, or whatever you want to call all of them. Ludacris, fucking Usher, so many of them, in the name of money. They all sold out and did it. And that was like the blackmail. And on Jay-Z's side, did you see the stuff they started jumping in with that? Then they started talking about the satanic sacrifices that they've been doing to stay. And you know what? I'm telling you, my ET people and conspiracy people have been talking about this for 10 years. This isn't new. This came out like I was being told this shit. I wouldn't even say it to people 10 years ago. In fact, you have to understand the way the elite of the Epsteins of the world work. Okay. The elite of the world, Epstein, Mossad, Jay-Z, Puff Daddy, all of them. It's all the same game. They basically get you with what you like, your devious nature, whatever it is, kids, boys, this, that, dogs, whatever you want, and depends how deep you want to go, right down to murdering, snuff, whatever you want. They basically just film it all and get you all done. And then you're basically owned. And that's what I'm talking politicians. Look at Epstein's list. Look at who's on that island. Bill Clinton 26 times. You look at Epstein, who's got an art piece of Clinton in a dress in his apartment, okay? Because he owns the bitch, okay? Because he's got so much shit on tape and stuff on all those people, and that's what they do. And so you can't get in basically without that, except a few people, that side of Dre and Snoop and Ice Cube and those guys were able to not have to sell out. That's why they saw it all. And Tupac too, but they killed him. But they've seen it all these years. They know what's up. And so did Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson was calling this satanic shit when they were trying to say him. He was talking about all this 15 years ago. It's deep. It's like the satanic, listen, the people, I don't know if I even told you this before. I'll say it now because it's okay. I wouldn't even say it for a number of years. The people I went to at the UFO conference 7 years ago, when they told me all this stuff, these were the leading people in the world. And everything they told me came true. The other ones telling me all this stuff now. They said Trump would get elected and be put in by the military. I couldn't believe it. They were talking about the Russians jumping in and being the saviors, all this stuff. They were talking about pedophilia being the biggest thing in the world. And I've got to admit, I didn't even remember what pedophilia was. I was like, what are you talking about? And they said, pedophilia, sex trafficking. And I said, what? I said, I'm a Catholic. You mean like the church, like the Vatican and stuff? They said, no, that on steroids. Like that times 10,000. You're going to find out that it's going to be the biggest satanic thing that we're going to have to digest and realize was taken over. And it's beyond anybody's belief. And the people they were implicating and the things they were saying, I was like, oh my God, I haven't even brought it up to almost no one, except now it's all coming out. And now you're seeing it. And it's a pattern of what they do. And the human trafficking came in from which is very, very tough, but that's going to come out it's just, there's no way around it. And all the people are saying we're going to have to just accept that it's reality. The Nazis were already enslaving people, gypsies, Jews, and whatnot. They didn't give a shit. So when they went to Antarctica, they just brought them with them. And they carried on that practice with our military industrial complex with the Sicars and reptilians, because reptilians don't give a shit about people anyway. So they were using them as commerce in space. They've been kidnapping and human trafficking people in space to ET civilizations for the last 60 years. We basically had a harvesting slave planet on this place being harvested with kids and people all over. You see people all over, all the people that disappear in parks and all over daily, just everywhere. They're nabbing them all over and selling them off to these people. And it's an unbelievable, well, what that thing, that sex trafficking movie that just came out, that one that was just on what was the name of that thing?
I forget the name. I know which one you're talking about, but I can't remember the name of it. It was
It was
not
about
too many theaters played that. I mean, even in my small town, it was like a couple of days, and then it was pulled from
you hear
my.
about that? Okay, well, listen, did you hear about that movie? Listen, I can't remember the name of that movie, but I'll tell you the story on that because I follow all this shit. That's about a DEA agent who, or a guy, Homeland Security, that realized that they'd made about 100 busts, but they'd never saved a kid. And so he quit his job, formed an elite squad, went down there and decided to actually save kids. And it's a true story. They followed him down there and they did this whole thing and they actually saved these kids and they got it on tape. It's a long story, but one of the things, they followed these two kids that were, they were kidnapped Americans in this country and they were in box containers being shipped to Colombia within hours on ships, and how fast it happens. And these people were talking about there being dozens of these camps with like hundreds of these kids around the world where they just take them to, and then they sell them off and shit. And they got it all on tape. When they played that, it took them 7 years. Disney fought to release that movie until there was a class action lawsuit. Disney's part of the whole thing. That's why they fought this for 7 years to get it out. And then when it went into AMC theaters, they were only playing it in half their theaters. They were mistiming the times. They were turning off the air conditioning. They were doing all kinds of sick shit. There's a class action lawsuit against them too. You get to see who rules this world. Okay. They're not letting this come out because they don't want Americans to realize what the hell has been going on in this world. This is all factual shit. And it's like, we should have the right to choose. And it's like, they're dictating that we don't get that. So I'm telling you, what's going to come out is this factory has been feeding this military industrial complex, Illuminati, whatever you want to call it, evil of the world, to a human trafficking network in the outer space. And it's going to be worse than any science fiction movie anybody could have dreamed up. And they're going to have to take over the emergency broadcast and basically explain most of this as gently as they can as part of this over the next couple of years. It's all coming out now. That movie coming out, they would have kept that out 2 years ago, and they couldn't keep that down, even though it was limited release. All the stuff's coming to light. They're busting them one by one. They're coming out everywhere.
Wasn't that kind of part of the deal with Eisenhower, or was that the start of it? I mean, uh, if I remember correctly from some of the stuff that I've looked into, that was part of the deal with Eisenhower is they got technologies in turn for they could pull and do tests on the human race without pretty much with them looking the other way, right? Was that
No, it
not?
wasn't quite like
I mean,
that.
that have
No,
been the start of
it
like
was like that. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
of the start of like say the human trafficking into space as you say.
You know what? That's a very good analogy. And it is what happened. You are right. It's a little variant of that. But what happened was that Dwight didn't want to go along with that anyway. The good part of the military didn't want to go with the Nazis and them. They were overruled. So you're right. Part of the deal was we get the technology and we're going to go in there and we're going to do experiments on people, but you can track us. And it's just going to be genetic stuff. They weren't talking like, obviously they made it sound like minor league. And within a year, it was totally out of control, and the military had no control over what these fuckers were doing. And in fact, they decided to get in cahoots and join them and do the whole damn thing anyway. So they just all jumped right in and just fucking bagged it. And you're right, that is where it started. And what happened, get this. So what you're going to find out is you got this human trafficking thing throughout outer space, and people are slaves all over the place. They got bases on Mars, and they've got slaves out there creating all this shit and everything. And then it comes down to here where the global people are running this. And when you stop looking at people as, I can only try to think like them, but I can't feel it. I'll explain it. If you get to the point where you don't care about human life anymore because you're looking at them as a cattle or whatever else, then it's not very hard to make that one step over to sex trafficking, to raping them, to abusing them, or doing the things that they do. Okay. Like in Epstein Island, if you want to snuff one of those people, those 17-year-old, you can do it anytime. Prince Andrew, Bill, they probably all did. You can torture them. You can do whatever you want. They'll set it up in those dark rooms down there. You can play any game you want, and it's like, they don't care. Because you know what? You got to understand, I don't know if we talked about this, but the whole crux of the matter is the reptilians and the Zeta. It's so bizarre. I had a hard time even accepting it because I just didn't want to believe it could be possible. And then I just had to accept it because there's too much coming in. Adrenochrome is what's made from our pineal gland when it gets amplified, when you get terrified. When you terror somebody, there's adrenal running through your body, and that's the most amplified time for the pineal gland, which is where the adrenochrome comes from. So what they do is they torture kids because that's when the most adrenochrome there is, and then they stick that needle in their fucking pineal gland and they take it out, and that's adrenochrome. And it goes for about 1,500 to 2,000 a shot to the elite of the world, depending on where you're at. It's basically like the fountain of youth. And they've been using that forever. So basically, once you get to the point where you're okay with doing the fountain of youth thing and you're willing to sell kids or people and do that, and you're willing to then, you just become barbaric. You become soulless, which is what Epstein and Bill Clinton and Prince Andrew, heck, John Roberts, the head of the Supreme Court, went there 3 times. You go down the list, man. These people, if you went there once, you might have gotten away with, saying they were trying to work you or something. If you went back 2 or 3 times, don't give me your shit. You knew what was up by then. That 3rd time, you were going back to party. No sound. You're on mute.
Oh
Okay.
shit! It's funny you bring that up. Uh, I've wondered the same things, kind of a little bit about something else you spoke about. I mean, it's not the adrenochrome. I get that it's a scary subject right there, but with the stem cell, will we become the same? People frothing at the mouth for that fountain of youth with the stem cell. I mean, can that get out of control? I mean, will
No,
people?
no, because you know what? No, because we've already been down there. They don't have to get it from, the umbilical cords for babies, right?
Yeah.
There's a there's a limitless amount of stem cells in umbilical cords, and that's the healthiest place to get them from. So they probably knew this 30 years ago.
Yeah,
Everybody, as many as we need. Stem cells are going to be a simple visit to the healer once every year or two to get a stem cell upgrade. And if you get in a wreck or an accident, you'll go down to the med bed and you'll get in that thing, and they'll put your body back together and rebuild you. And then you're going to eat organic food. And they're not going to shove crap down you and vaccines and toxic food and water anymore. And you're not going to be stressed out. And so you're going to heal yourself up, and you're going to live a couple hundred more years. And we're all
I
going to have
believe.
a good time.
I'm sorry, brother. You're the guest.
Oh, no, you're good. I talk too much anyway.
No, you don't. And you're the guest. Um, I believe they have known a lot about that for a long time. To be honest with you, the whole stem cell thing. And they have very much been. We've talked a lot. People, harvesting of organs and stuff like that. The whole like black. I believe they've been doing that and making money and charging you for having babies. And you know what I mean? Having a baby in their hospital and then turn around and selling that umbilical cord full of stem cells for an expensive amount and then charging you. You know what I mean? If they're going to turn around and sell your baby's stem cells, your birth should be free. You know what I mean? If you're going to make all that money off of my baby's waste, but to kind of, I I think they should that umbilical cord with the way technology is right now. That should be the next generation's insurance policy. All them stem cells from that baby should go somewhere in a vial, and that's their health care. That's that child's health care. You know what I mean? Throughout its life, they get sick or accident, and they just go into their body's natural stem cells, and boom. You know what I mean? Or does it have to be that specific? Can it just be a bang?
It doesn't have to be, but you just thought of something that I hadn't thought about that's brilliant. I mean, of course, it would make sense to just when you're born, take your umbilical cord, take that, put it on ice, and for the rest of your life, they can just harvest stem cells from you for your particular body. And it's perfect. And it's like, then you're done, and it's simple. It's over. And it's just everybody has that. And then there's no rush or waiting or anything because everybody gets it. Because you know what? On all the other planets, they want people to thrive. So they teach them how to connect to God. They teach them that they don't have to bow down to anybody and that they're all sovereign beings and that we can all have, they don't even really need police forces because nobody's stealing anything because you don't need to do that. Why are you stealing anything? It's stupid. Well, people steal stuff because there's not enough. I mean, there is I'm not saying I'm approving of people stealing, but people steal because you take away resources and there's not enough. And so people have to make desperate decisions. That I understand, but people should never be put in that position, and they're not going to be once we get done here. It's
I
cool.
believe
It's going to be good. It's going to be good. We're going to have, I'm telling you, we're going to have a good world.
it's
Your kids
coming
are going to grow up.
quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Time itself seems to be speeding up. I mean, what we call days and everything else, man, time seems to be, you blink and it's gone. Another day, another week. I mean, the whole
I
thought of
noticed that.
being able to live a couple hundred years with the way time flies right now seems possible.
Time's going to evaporate because we're not going to be living on clocks like that. You're not going to live your whole life chained to a clock where it's like, I have to do this it's like nobody should live like that. Maybe for a specific project or for passion or something, or they get into stuff, but nobody should be chained down. It's going to be a wonderful bounty of that. And that's what we all deserve. And we're going to get that, it's going to come in. And whether it comes in from Trump or Kennedy, they're finished, because both of them are the same. Doesn't matter. Do you know who the best friends? Do you know who was best friends with Kennedy and the Kennedy family? It still is Donald Trump.
Yeah.
You all live close to the Kennedys. Oh yeah. They all see it. So it's just well, we got some months ahead of us, but I'm so excited about where things are going to go. And I don't want anybody to think that it's because I just feel great. I feel like we've done our job. And really, we just have to be healthy. What people need to do is eat as clean as they can, meditate, all the stuff we're talking about, pray, connect to their angels and spirit guides to get directed, because we are really under bombardment. They're doing everything they can to start the Civil War. And, we just, it's not going to happen, but it's close. I'll tell you, as much as I say that, this whole thing is close.
It is.
Look at that thing in China where they got that virus. It's 100% kill rate. Okay. Now, if they could unleash that, they would. They won't be able to. I'm telling you, they won't. But if they could, they would kill us all.
Oh, I'm sure they would. I'm sure they would. That's been in part of the plan for a while. Um,
That's why
yeah,
we're lucky that we have so many good people in the world that are looking out after us.
there's
Do you
definitely
know
a,
what's it? You know what? Astrologically, right now, we had a major thing happen on the Mercury retrograde. We had in September, the day that happened, Jupiter went retrograde, which has almost never happened. And then both of them, Mercury went retrograde in January 1st, and Jupiter went straight. And so what I'm saying is there was a huge astrological alignment that started at the beginning of the year to push us into this. First, we went through a Mercury retrograde at the end of the year, so all the old was being dealt with. And then we got turned into this new alignment of everything new coming in. And as part of that alignment, it's the first time, oh, I got to turn that down. It's the first time in 200 something years that this alignment with Pluto that just went into Capricorn like 3 days ago. And if you look it up astrologically, this is the first time since the French and American revolutions. Okay. Hold on one second. I'm going to tell him. Dan, I'm on a podcast. I got to call you back. It's the first time I, it's the first time it's happened in 200 years. And it's since the French and American Revolution. So the astrologers are talking about right now, this is the year. We're going straight into the revolution of the world. It's officially on. We're going to have the biggest change. It's astrologically predicted. It's predicted by the ET researchers. It's predicted by all the conspiracy people. They're all wrapping their arms around it, and that's where we're going. And it's going to be the greatest comeback, where we almost were turned into a permanent slave planet and exterminated and wiped out. We're going to turn into taking this planet back and having the meek inherit the earth and have the greatest turnaround for humanity that we could have ever imagined. And they'll write about this for hundreds of years. And cannabis people like you and me and stuff, we're going to be looked upon as some of the heroes because we fought for that and we evangelized for it, and we tried to teach and educate and inspire people to look for the right way.
I believe what you're saying. I do pay attention, or I'm beginning to, my eyes are beginning to be opened up further to astrology in the last year. My significant other, Miss the Angel Smiles, there is a pays a lot of attention to the astrological alignments. The Leo King, who we listen to quite a bit, who talks about astrology. It is very interesting that how things do when things are in retrograde. That's a whole new thing that I've learned in the last year. How when things line up in retrograde, how they slow down, speed up. It does what's happening out there in space, outside of even the sun's energy, has a lot to affect on what we are doing as a species, and I think people discredit a lot of the what's going on in space, either space the alignments or energy from the sun. That it has a huge impact on us.
I never realized. I thought it was a little bit hocus pocus stuff, myself, even though everybody's got their stuff in spirituality. I can take all the ET stuff, but some of that astrology stuff's a little bit witchcrafty, for me. But over the years, I represented some astrologers and some really incredible people. And I realized it's not, that it's really a brilliant scientific medium, and done right, it's incredible to have people read your charts and peg who you are and what you're here for, and your missions and your stuff, and how it all affects you, and why you're attracted to certain people. And it's a beautiful thing. Mercury retrogrades, which we had a Mercury retrograde from like the 13th or 14th of December until January 1st. And on that day, Jupiter went direct. So we had this like boom going right into the New Year's. And now we got this Pluto thing that they're talking about, which is just so rare. And when it happens, just massive changes come in society. And that's where we're at. And so that's what we're going to do this. And there's no stopping it. There will be no stopping it. And that's the one thing. From what I've heard, militarily, conspiratorially, the ET people, the astrologers, the psychics, nothing will stop it. It's just going to look really dark. It's going to look like we're going to blow the world up or kill us all, or they will. And so people are going to be freaking out over the next while, but then it's going to it's going to stop. And it's just a matter of when they surrender. It could be any time within 2 months or a year.
We have a lot of things in common, Mr. Blake. For sure.
Yeah, that's true. I do love to run, and I love my microdosing, and I love my family, love our community. I love cannabis across the board, and I love learning. The thing with me is that I just am so looking forward to learning new stuff. Once they unleash us and let us really open up to everything, it's just going to be it's going to be amazing. I can only imagine.
I love to learn new stuff
Ooh,
too.
think about it. Do you imagine talking to other people, from other planets, about food, religion, philosophy, clothing, how to get, what it is, sex. I mean, all of it, just incredible.
I think that's a
See it,
whole subject right there on how we communicate in general. I think in time will change. I think will learn to utilize more vibration, the sound that we use. We'll be able to densify our words and say more with less in time. And that'll be part of our communication with extra ETs. You know what I mean? Our transition with just being able to communicate with them. It won't. I don't think it will be words, and I think what audible communication will be changed. The tones, you know what I mean? They'll be more dense. Each sound will carry more sentences. More, you know what I mean? Each note will carry a sentence instead of you know what I mean, instead of a thought or a word or individual representation. I think.
right up to telepathic. Most of them are totally telepathic. So you're going to be dealing with beings that can just read your thoughts and go right through it. So that's how fast they are. The manifestation too. So most of these beings are just so far advanced in front of us. They're still like us, but they're just so far. I mean, there's humanoid types. There's every type of being you can imagine what I'm seeing, but they're just way ahead of us, most of it. There's still on other planets, there are people behind us. I mean, we're not like the end or something, but the people that are dealing with us obviously are way ahead of us because they're here and we're not able to go there. I mean, they're out there knowing it.
There's definitely more out there for sure. For sure. So I guess let's talk a little cannabis. What has happened in the world of cannabis with you since last time I've seen you? You've had a cup, you've had a ball, and there's another go round coming up on deck. So I
We
guess
did.
tell us what we've missed and what's coming up.
Short term, we danced from one lily pod to the next, just holding on. We went down to LA to do that show and lost our site down there with Rama. He didn't have his permits, and so we almost lost our show. Did I tell you about that Woody thing? I think that has it been since Woody was with us. I'm trying to think.
Oh, I
No,
know that's new.
yeah, I was trying to think. It was what? So we were going to go down to a show in LA, and we had gotten connected with Woody, and we were going to be part of another show. We weren't going to do our own show because it was tough to get a permit. But Rama with Green Street was going to do a big show. We were going to bet our award ceremony in there and be part of it. And we were going to have Woody Harrelson come and take the Lifetime Achievement Award, or the Willie Nelson Award, as we call it now. And then we got down there, and in the course of like one day, as I'm driving down there to do the press piece with Woody and to do all these pictures and photo ops for the LA Weekly cover we're going to do, I get down there and I'm told that we don't have a permit to do the show. We don't have a show at Rama's anymore. Woody's aware of it, and he's letting me know that he's thinking about pulling out of doing the Lifetime Achievement Award this year and doing it maybe next year, and they're going to pull me off the cover of LA Weekly. And I'm going into the photo shoot while I'm doing this. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to hold my mud, be cool with Woody, and just act like it's no big deal. So I'm like, okay, I meditated. I was like, okay, no big deal. So we go in there and I'm with Woody and we got along really well. We were in his new dispensary and we're talking, and he doesn't smoke with people, but the next thing you know, he's handing me his vaporizer and we're going back and forth, and we're getting along well and stuff. And so we start talking, and then he's telling me, I'm sorry, I may do it next year for you, and we'll just see over the next few days and whatnot. And he said, what happened? And I was like, there were all these people there, and I couldn't really tell him with all the people around how Rama had screwed us in a certain way by not having the permit. And so, and we didn't have a place to go do the show anyway. So works really well. We get done with the show. I drive home. I'm meditating all the way, knowing something's going to fall. Woody calls me up 3 days later. Now, in 3 days, my manager, Kat Inney, found a site, the Maltabon Theater, for us to do the show at. So now we had a cannabis site that we actually could pull in a show. And Woody calls me up and he goes, I want to know what really happened, because I don't know what happened from that Rama thing in Green Street and stuff. And we started talking, and I told him what happened and what Rama done. And we were kind of, we really could use Woody to come in, and we had the Maltabon, and we really could use Woody to stand with us because we were coming into LA and whatnot. And he knew who we were. And because he loves sun grown and he loves farmers and who we are and stuff, he goes, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna come out there and stand with you guys. I'm gonna stand there. I'm taking the award. You guys go ahead and put it. We're gonna get this LA Weekly thing figured out. And I went back on the thing with Woody. And LA Weekly comes out. Woody's gonna come out. We went and did the show. Woody stands with us. We really pulled a beautiful thing with Woody. He did like 20 minutes of live stand up on the stage, and he was going to hang with us, but Paul McCartney wanted to see his new dispensary, and so he left. And I said, "Why would he leave?" That's a bummer. He goes, "Well, Paul didn't want to smoke with everybody. He wanted to smoke in Woody's dispensary. And what's he going to say to Paul McCartney?" And I was like, "Well, you know what? I got to lose. What am I going to say to Paul McCartney?" So we made it through that year, but then the next year we couldn't. We lost money at our harvest ball in Santa Rosa. And the rain came at us and we lost $500,000, almost went under. I got done last year with the show in the rain, which really hurt us. And because most of us was a walk up, and then the production people helping us. And I was willing to sell the show off. So I went through a spiritual place where, to pay our creditors off, I was willing to sell the majority of the cup, if that's what it took. Now, the Emerald Cup at its height was worth like 12 to 15 million. Because of the last couple of years and the tough COVID and the economy and stuff. And then we just lost money on a show. What's the Emerald Cup worth? 2 or 3 million. And maybe, maybe more, but on the low end. And so I was willing to do that just to pay the creditors. So I surrendered, like giving up the Emerald Cup, and we had people that were going to buy it, but my partner really wouldn't go along with the prices because he wanted more. So he screwed the deals up. Now I would have been integrity based and sold my share to pay the debt, but he screwed the deals up. So by the time we went through like 2 rounds of this, by the end of the summer, I was like, well, that was yeah. Well, I said, first of all, I lost the money before I get there. I'm sorry. Back it up. I'm stoned. Went through 2 years of that. Back to this. We lost the 500,000 at the show in the Harvest Ball, and Joey tried to sell the cup. While we were doing that, he said, I'd never be able to keep the creditors at bay and pull off the Emerald Cup Awards ceremony. We found the Craneway Pavilion in Oakland, outside of Oakland on Richmond, this beautiful place to do it at. I convinced all the creditors to stand with us while Joey was screwing up these deals. And I pulled a rabbit out of my hat, and we actually financed the show and pulled the show off and did a beautiful show to carry us through. And it was a miracle. And so then we're sitting there, and Joey screws up these deals in a certain way because he wanted too much, but he did me a favor. And so I've got to go find something to do with the 20th anniversary coming up. So I told my daughter, she goes, what are you going to do? And I said, we're going to meditate and we're going to create miracles. Well, the guy that owns the Craneway that we had the year before rented that out to pickleball people. It's right over the bay, this most beautiful place. We couldn't go back there. But he goes, I've got this place in Oakland you can check out. Maybe you can go to Oakland. And I was thinking, Oakland, huh? Downtown Oakland? Okay, I'll go check it out. I went down there with my daughter. I didn't realize that the Kaiser Arena in Oakland is the most iconic historic venue in the Bay Area for music and cultural events. It was built in 1914, and it overlooks Lake Merritt, and it's 4 stories high and inside of it, it's a 7,000 seat arena. And back up against the arena is a 2,000 seat custom amphitheater, tight stage, right? But it's built inside of the building. So around the arena is 3 levels of wraparound hallways because it's on that are 18 feet wide with like bay walls in each of them along this corridor. So you can like, you walk along and you're like, you could do like, it's almost like a perfect place to do the most crazy Halloween you could ever imagine in this place. And then it's got little bars and stuff in the corners. So we're doing a complete takeover of that and using the parking lot for the vending and the music outside. And so we're going to take over the whole place. And then they're talking about, they just spent $5 million refurbishing it. So what happened was it was shut down when the big coliseums and arenas came in because it was a 7,000 seat. It didn't quite fit anymore. It's where Bill Graham did all of his New Year's Eve shows for the Grateful Dead. It was called the House of the Dead. It's where Martin Luther King, Elvis Presley played, 9 Inch Nails. Everybody played there, but they shut it down finally. Then they refurbished it and they put a $3 million, $5 million deck actually on the back porch that holds 1,500 people, a big cement deck that's looking out at Lake Merritt that's set with a stage all wired to play right to that lake. And we can go and take over that and do like a South by Southwest there in a couple of years. And it's already built for it. So we've got a 5-year deal on that to go in there, and we're going to do our 20th anniversary at the most iconic place in the Bay Area, the Kaiser Arena Center for Performing Arts that they just refurbished. We're going to be the first cannabis show there ever, and we're going to do a complete takeover of the complete grounds in a way nobody's done it.
That's this year, 20 years this year?
20 years this May 4th and 5th. Yep.
Well, well, it's starting to sound like I'm almost slightly glad I missed last year, Tim. I mean, if I could catch one, I mean, 20 would be cool. I mean, that's a memorable bet, and it sounds like this one's slated to be super cool. I mean, it sounds like an amazing event, to be honest with you.
And you know what? If you go look up the Kaiser, it's all architecturally stunning. It's all rounded hallways and walls, decor and stuff. It's going to be we're going to bring Burning Man people in to decor this whole place for us. It's going to be tight. We won't have as many. We'll only be able to get 10,000 a day probably in there, 25 for the weekend maybe. But that's okay. It's a tight little show for us, but that's great. It's just going to be beautiful going in there to start because we can take over Lake Merritt next year and do a big show, but we don't want to do that this year. But for us, that's perfect. and we own 150 vendors rather than like 200, 250. We'll do bigger next year. And so it's going to be a sold out show, a beautiful crowd. Like Steve D'Angelo and Andrew, who I had a fight with because Steve from Harborside championed large scale farming, and that's why they opened up the legalization to large scale farming in California and screwed all of us all these years ago. I'm making peace with Steve and Andrew because Steve made a mistake in my mind, but he didn't do it knowing that it would hurt us so badly. And he's been part of our industry for so long. And he's been in Oakland with Harborside and that dispensary that we're inviting him in. We're making peace with him. And I want him to stand on that stage with me because I really respect and admire Steve overall. We all make mistakes. And so we're looking at it like I'm making peace with everybody. Once we went legal, it became every man for himself and everybody started turning on each other. And before it was legal, it wasn't like that. And what we got to do is go back to realizing they turned us against each other, and now we've all got to unite and get on them.
I agree. I agree. It's pretty awesome that you're extending the olive branch out there, making some peace for sure. And
Oh yeah, and then we're going to bring Oakland in. You know what? The thing about Oakland is the one challenge is these liberal cities on the West Coast that defunded the police and got rid of all arrests for anybody, have become Grand Theft Auto. Oakland is literally, I mean, they're closing the In and Out because they can't even protect the people at In and Out from armed robberies in the parking lot at In and Out in daylight. I mean, they've lost control of the cities in San Francisco, Portland, Oakland, LA. And so we're going to have to go in there and help clean that up. So we really want to unite people and really go in. We're going to ask I'm telling you what, we're going to go in there. We're asking, it's on May 5th, the 4th and 5th. We're asking the Hispanic community to come in and help us. We're going to ask the Black community to come in and help us. We're asking the white community. We're going to ask every community to come in and stand with us, everybody, and just unite with us and have a peaceful event. Show Oakland that we can do cannabis can unite all of them because they all use cannabis. At the end of the day, that's a unifier, and people are using psychedelics too. And all these different groups and societies. And, I don't care whether you're colored or not colored, sex or whatever it is. I don't care. It's like, we just need to unite, all come together in peace and not be divided because they've been dividing us. Really, what they've done for the last few years is really divide us, and it's like, they're masters at that. Because when we're fighting each other, we're not fighting them. And so that's my goal, is to go into Oakland and have a peaceful event, the first cannabis event in the Kaiser Arena in Oakland of that size, be the heroes for the whole community so that they want us to do a 50 to 100,000 person event over the next year or two, and really bring a bunch of resources to the community and honor the community and have our 20th in a really beautiful fashion.
it sounds like an amazing time. Cannabis you're right, is a binder. That's always been one of the beautiful things about the large events. That's one of the things I fell in love with as far as events go in cannabis. I've always known that cannabis is a binder. And as far as that goes, I just kind of had a nice experience at a smaller event where dinner and everything was included. So we're talking about 1,000 or less people there. Large meal at the end of the day where everybody sat down and elbow to elbow enjoyed it, and all the food was put on by the cannabis community. You know what I mean? Some of the growers also, do pigs and stuff like that. So it was an amazing time, amazing meal. That was the Sun Grown Cup here in Michigan. Our end of the year cup. And shout out to Country Roots and Morganja Farms and all the major people that put that on. But yeah, it was literally that amazing. You know what I mean? And that's what cannabis does. It's that, pass that joint. You know what I mean? Breaking bread experience, and that part of it was like it was real intimate. It was a nice intimate event. You know what I mean? But cannabis all across the board, even when it was just like, and I hate this, I don't hate to say it, but it became a bad thing in the end. High Times was one of them events that we used to, you know what I mean, was one of the ones that came through every year to Michigan. You know what I mean? It was once a year we could go, and that's what you seen right there, across the board, different walks of life, old, young, it didn't matter. We all came and celebrated cannabis. Unfortunately, things changed there, and you know what I mean. But it is cannabis is that it's that everybody walks across. It is that way. And that's what people love about the events that like yourself that put on. It's nice to see that 20 years into it, you're still putting together amazing events. Your morals are there for the right reasons. You know what I mean? And I'm sure this year will be exactly the event you're wanting to put out. You know what I mean? When you call to me, humanity comes out. It's felt. You know what I mean? And it sounds like this one's being put out for all the right reasons. So I have no doubts this year will be an amazing success.
You know what? I think everybody is looking for something just good to rally around. And the Emerald Cup, because people like, look, honestly, it looked for a moment like the Emerald Cup wasn't even going to make it. Our websites went down. People didn't know this. I mean, I haven't told the story, but we're sitting there. I'm going to go out and try to find the Kaiser. Then I've got to find the money to put this whole plan together, right? I had a couple of really poor negotiations with potential investors that just drug us out. And so all of a sudden, my partner put the money up, and at the last minute, we were able to pull this thing off. But in the middle of this, we didn't realize, but our permit had gone down for the state, and we were the ones that taught the state how to do all this. But they were so screwed. They didn't give us our permit back. It shut our bank account down. So now we couldn't take money in as a cannabis account, and they would have to go refile with the state, and they're dragging us on. We finally had to go to their bosses, the head of the state, and say, we're one day from collapsing because we can't take money in unless you get off our face. And when they realized what they were doing, they actually changed that. But we were going through that at the same time that Media Temple and GoDaddy had merged. And when they did that, they lost our account. And so it spun out, and then they couldn't find us. So they just turned off our website. And all of a sudden, we didn't have website or emails at the same time. So our website and our emails were down for like 3 weeks as we had our bank accounts frozen and no license. And we were just flying in blindness while we were like trying to figure out how to launch this show. We had to back our show launch up we were going to launch on November 20th, and then we had to back it up to December 1st. We backed it up to the 10th. We were going on the 20th to get out just before the end of the year. And then we decided that it was so crazy. We finally got it done, but we weren't prepared. We were going to go out and launch it on the 2nd of December, or January, which we did. And we had a friend of ours come in. He looked at our website because we didn't have the money to really put the website together right, because we were just bootstrapping this. And this wonderful guy who's Jack Reardon, who does all the credit in the world, he works for us. He's such an amazing person, but he doesn't need the work. He's just a brilliant writer, brilliant graphic artist. He's got a great family. He doesn't need the work. But he saw this and he's like, delay the launch, give me a week, I'll rebuild this whole thing and it'll be beautiful. And so and then we waited. He worked over the holidays, rebuilt our whole website, everything, put it all out, got it all together, the whole launch, everything we needed. And we launched on January 3rd, just bootstrapped. And basically, you would normally launch a show and need $1.5 million to run a show. I mean, say, no, not to run a show. Say you have $1.5 million budget. You'd want 20% of that to run the show. So you really should have 300,000 in the bank. I don't have that 300,000 in the bank, and I got to pay 60,000 a month to my creditors all the way up to the show each month. And that's what I have to like climb Mount Everest with my hands tied behind my back and tennis shoes between now and 100 days, bring in $2.5 million, pay those creditors, do it without any money, bootstrap the cash flow, and run the whole thing while we do the contest. And that's what we're doing right now. My team, my little team, we're just like so hardcore. We're just running as fast as we can. And then the guy that was going to do the marketing for us, this guy that saved us and did all this website stuff, just decided he would go for the next 90 days and save us for the next 90 days. A freak giant storm in Oregon came through and just icicled his whole area, crashed hundreds of trees into his house, broke his house, garage, cars, everything. He's wiped out. He had to resign. He's trying to help us, but he doesn't even have power. He's not even, he's just like the whole area is shut down in Oregon, right in the middle of that. So it's like, if you're looking at the world, so I'm like, we're sitting there, we just get, and this happens. And so we're just like, my team's like, okay, we'll just keep going. And we are, we've got like, I mean, that's what we faced to make it to this point, and that's what I'm doing. And we're going to pay all our creditors back, and we've got the show launched, and my team is there. They didn't get paid for months. They almost starved to death. My daughter, everybody, literally almost having to go to food banks. People think I've made money. I've lost more money on the cup than I've ever made. And I'm not taking any money right now because I can't, because I owe that. I could, but I owe the creditors. So I'm not taking one dime for myself. I'm just paying my team. And I won't take a salary until the creditors get paid back. And so I've got to go out and hustle on the side to keep myself alive while I'm doing all this. So I'm working the streets. I'm working the streets so I can run this show to pay all these people back. I can't hear you.
It is crazy and very heartbreaking, to be honest with you. I know I was a few years, COVID and everything else have been very tough on events and cannabis, but I was really hoping that, this last few years, that there's been an upswing there, but things can be very tough. Are tickets available now? I mean, how can people get it behind and support?
Well, they can go on C tickets or they can go to theanimalcup.com. It has the link and stuff. And we're going to be okay. Now, look, this isn't a doomsday story. It's actually a rising like a phoenix from the ashes. So let's look at this. I basically took a hit with that loss, 600,000, could have gone under, could have lost control of the company. Because of the circumstances, I'm still in control of the company. I'm going to end up paying all the creditors. We're going to regain every bit of people are rooting for us. Our creditors are rooting for us. They don't want us to go bankrupt. We sat down, we could have gone bankrupt. No, we're not. We're paying them all back. They're rooting for us. The community is looking at us like we're rising from the ashes. And now we're going to put on the most badass 20th anniversary at the most iconic venue in the Bay Area. And we're going to go help heal this wounded community down there at the same time. So we've got the whole community coming together for us. And it's like a really amazing thing. But it is definitely, when I look, people will look back, it's really at my age, 67, to think I'm working this hard to bootstrap this, to do all this. You know what though? The cup will go from being worth $3 million back to being worth 12 million by the time it's done. So you know what? It's going to be back in place. It's going to have money for the next 4 years, and it's going to stay in Oakland and do an incredible show. We've got people that want to take us to Vegas or New York or other places. So Michigan, other places, but there's so many opportunities, and my book's coming out and it'll be all good. So I've taken the worst of it, and we're standing and going forward and doing very well. And now we're going to pick up our community and we're going to take everybody with us to Oakland, and it's going to be exciting. And man, we're going to rock it.
Man, tons of respect to you from the bottom of my heart, man. From everything, not just currently you're doing with the cup and cannabis, but everything you've done, from the outlaw phase of it. And I can't wait for the damn book come out so I can hear some of them stories that I've been trying to coach out of you for 4 years. So yeah, I can't. I hope the book comes out soon so I can hear some of them stories. But I do, man. It takes a lot of grit to do what you do, and you put everything on the line. Your whole life, honestly, through cannabis. You've risked it from cultivation in the old days, the outlaws, persecution through the trials and tribulations of Canada, California law, to keeping things alive now in the legal market. You know what I mean? It's an amazing story, and for somebody like yourself to keep doing it, to have the passion to keep doing it, man. A lot of people, we don't see that today, brother. So many people are willing to just jump out now. I mean, look how many cannabis businesses are like, boom. I can't fare the weather. You know what I mean? I don't want. My heart's not that deep, and to me, that are the people that shouldn't be there. To be honest with you, because of that, there's two parallel groups in cannabis. there's the cannabis community, and then there's the legal cannabis, basically the money aspect, the people that don't smoke that want to invest. Them are the ones with hard times, and the numbers aren't reflecting. You know what I mean? Overhead and shit like that. They go, no, no, it's time to pull. We're going to invest in something else. But it's the cannabis community, the people like you, like myself, that have a heart, see this as a medicine, something other than a dollar, that keep pushing this thing along. And it's, I thank you from the bottom of my heart to be for everything that you do and continue to do. And I'm telling you, I've already said this year, besides this conversation, I've regretted missing last year 100%. And I've said it's like part of my New Year's resolution. I'm going this year. It's like it's already done. It's done, written. We talk about like meditating and manifestation. It's just like for me, it's one of them things that's already done. You know what I mean? They've in fact, if you could go back and rewind, like even the last few months, because the people that watch this have been trying to get me to like do something for a little community, have a little get together, and I don't know how to be honest. I don't know where to start with something like that. But they want something this year. We want to have do something, and they proposed May, and I'm like, no, I'll be gone. I'm broke up. Sorry, yeah, sorry guys. We're gonna have to plan around that. It can't be that day. That's I'm gone. I'm absent. So yeah, I totally plan on being there and being part of the 20th, man. This is awesome. So I'm glad
Oh yeah.
100% that it could have been something terrible. I'm glad you guys it turned out to be the Phoenix. You know what I mean? You didn't have to settle.
I wasn't going to go down. Look, there were moments because being really honest to the story, in the middle of that, the pressure was so great that my girlfriend of 10 years and I split up. And then right behind that, my best friend dog of like 13 years passed away like 3 months right there. I had to tend to him as he just went down. And so the whole thing is I'm sitting in this, like my whole life was just like sitting there while I just sat and meditated and prayed all summer. And I just immersed myself in that prayer and meditation and just manifested it all and said, okay, that's where it's going to go. And this was a mission for me and for all of us that came in to get to where we're going to be in 2 years. When I came into this childhood, I already was connected to the ETs. I was studying conspiracy stuff when I was 16. I've known this whole thing. I didn't know the exact outcome, but I knew we were on this mission. And now the outcome's totally clear. It's like we're finally gone through enough mazes and enough different tracks to see where it's at. And we got to finish it off. This is the greatest time. It's like we're getting rallied. That guy, the Argentinian president, Elon Musk telling them all to fuck off, all this stuff, it's rallying the world. And we're going to come behind it. So that's what we're going to do with the Emerald Cup. And we're going to have some fun. We're going to have some great music. I'll tell you what, a great story as we go. At the Emerald Cup this year, I had the greatest musical event. At the Emerald Cup Awards, we have this 4-story building, all glass, looking over the whole bay. It's the 100-yard football field long, stunning, beautiful stage, place to play. It's about 2 a.m. Great music is playing. Nobody had told me. They surprised me. Greatest non-musical performance ever. And all of a sudden, like a 12-piece band comes out on the stage. I mean, the most rocking band I could have ever dreamed of. And it's Dwayne Higgins, who's basically the lead for a band called Tony, Tony, Tony. And if you go back in the 70s or 80s, an old school band, Tony, Tony, Tony was an amazing group, lots of hits. But not only that, I never realized how much he could play. So he's this funk R&B guy that's just played for like 2 hours for us for basically free because he loves cannabis and he loved the Emerald Cup and he just surprised us. So I'm standing out with this cat. He's almost my age, man. Tony, Tony, Tony goes way back. So I'm out there watching the sunrise with this guy, hired heck on psychedelics with Dwayne, right? And out back, and I'm like, Dwayne, that was the greatest thing because I didn't expect it. I had no idea at 2:30 in the morning that somebody of your stature, you could have headlined. We could have brought you out at 9, or we could have brought you anytime. He goes, nah, I just would come on late. This when I get there, I just was going to play for you guys. And I said, well, would you headline for me at my next show? Okay. Well, little did I know that the next show is going to be in Dwayne's backyard, the Kaiser. Tony just got off the sold off tour. and Dwayne is back, and we're negotiating with Dwayne right now to headline the stage for Saturday night at the Kaiser as a tribute for what he did for us there. And so it's going to just be an amazing thing. He's aware of it now, and we're just negotiating and trying to work it out. But because I want to pay him decent. I mean, whatever he's worth, he did that for nothing. And so to give it back to him and have him come play, because wait till you see him. He's an amazing performer. I mean, even the songs are popish, but this guy is like a funk. He's like funk R&B, just a grooving dude that can play. Just makes you dance. Yeah, big stage, fun.
Sounds
That's
amazing.
cannabis. Yeah, and he came out because of cannabis. He just wanted to play for the Emerald Cup. I mean, God, what a beautiful thing.
People, cannabis does bring people together. It's we said it before and we'll say it again, man. People, it brings the best out of people. It really does. It really
Oh
does.
yeah, we're gonna play a lot of hip hop. We're bringing in the hood. I got Davey D. Davey D's been he's been the KMEL main celebrity DJ of the Bay Area for like, I don't know, maybe 25, 30 years. He's legendary. It's Davey D, right? So he's going to bring his own like set and his own music and his own team. He's going to bring together all the legends and stuff. So we're going to bring in, we'll see. We don't want to name names or whatever. We'll see who we come up with, but I think we're going to have, you got some beautiful people that come from the Bay Area, hip hop legends and shit. So gonna be some fun. And then I don't know if we'll get her or not. I can't say that. I mean, all I can say is I'd love to get her. We're trying. We want to get Sheila E for Cinco de Mayo for the 5th of May to respect and honor the Hispanic community and bring Sheila E and her father, Pete Escondido, and Sheila E from the Prince era. They're both Oakland natives, and so they'd be great to come in and play for us on Sunday.
It would be an awesome show as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Any live music. I spent a lot of the last year just kind of following around just local, even low, I mean little, bands and stuff like that. There's just something special about music and cannabis that again, hand in hand. So yeah, that'd be awesome. For sure. I had great music both ways.
yeah. Well, it'll be quite the show. We'll see. We'll have you some nice entries. We'll get you a bunch of materials. A couple of things we saw over the last year since I've seen you. The desserts out in the West Coast anyway were really big. Wedding cakes and all that and whatnot. People were big in desserts, and over the last 2 years, it's really rolled back into the stronger the Kushes, the OGs. If you look at the winners and where people are going for, they really went back to that. Getting the strength. The crosses anyway. And you saw that since there was so much production uh, last year to 2 years, that a really amazing thing you saw was a lot of the live rosin and live resin going into the cartridges and into the pre-roll infused and into the edibles. So where edibles have always been kind of a yawny, a little bit of a downer thing for me, probably because it's older weed, CBN and whatnot. But for the most part, it wasn't like. But when you start using live rosin and you put it in gummies like live rosin gummies or live resin gummies and chocolates, it's a totally different high. And I really enjoy it. And so what you're seeing is the elevation in the quality levels because there's so much material into the edibles and into the cartridges across the board. And in fact, our judges don't even really want to try. They're asking if they can not even do distillates or CO2 anymore for like the cartridges and stuff because they just don't want to do it. There's just such an abundance of quality in the live rosin and live resin. So that's what we're seeing across the board, the elevation of product quality, even down into the tinctures and whatnot. It bodes well for consumers and people. People are just growing more and more great cannabis. So it's wonderful to see. And this year we'll see. We had a really great cup last year. We had almost 800 entries. But this year we'll see. Every year is different. The economy's down, people are beat. It's really it's amazing thing on the West Coast, but we'll do good on the show because we're going to be in Oakland and we're 5 minutes outside of BART. So you can get to anywhere in the Bay Area in 20 minutes and we got the whole Bay Area to draw from. So it's really going to be a great show for us no matter what, but it'll be interesting to see the farmers, the representation of the farmers and whatnot.
Yeah, I can't even wrap my mind around trying to judge or put numbers around 800 entries.
A lot of
that's a
work.
feat all itself. How do you delegate that responsibility? I guess. I mean, uh, how
Well,
did
I used to do it all. I used to do it all, and then my daughter came in and started running it with me, and then she kind of took over. I still, was there doing it too, and then Vicky Shea came in about 5 years ago, and over the years has really taken the lead in it. And Vicky runs that. Taylor and I oversee it. We have input into the contest and every aspect of it, the judges and the selections, and we run the whole thing and manage it. But Vicky does the day to day, and she really deserves a tremendous amount of credit. She just did a show at Jimmy Devine because she's become just like, if you're in the industry, you know Vicky because your intake is going through her. So she's going to see your stuff. She sees more. When I used to see everything, I could pick out the winners. When we had 50, 70 entries, 100 entries, I could go through and look at all of them, and I could basically pick out the top three within one day. You could see it all. Vicky sees every entry. She breaks them all up with her team. So she sees everything more than anybody. And she's got a really good read on every brand, what she likes, but she's brilliant. So Vicky really helps us with that. But it's a whole team of people that do it. And then it's the judges. It's a really quality. We spend a lot of time picking judges. We really do. And then we set the judges up for success by the way we get them the material and how we do it, and the meetings and the way we score. And like in the flowers, we've gone through it. Then we get together with the flower judges and everybody for 2 days and sit down and go through all that at the end. So it's a really laborious, intense process, and it's a lot of fun, a lot of fun. And there's just so many great products coming out. One of the things we found, we used to have more single entries, so there was a lot of single farmers or single brands putting entries in. So we'd have 500 entries or something. Now, you have 700 entries, but you have 237 brands. So the brands are on average putting in 3 entries apiece. So it's more of a competitive competition for brands and farmers that need that, the accolades and stuff. And it's great in a way, but it's also, sad. We still have the personal use contest and stuff, but it's a serious competition, and it's more brands with money.
Do you think we have you seen I guess are we done chasing potency and are we coming back to trying to chase flavor again these days as far as the entries that you're seeing? Do you see a wider
Um,
diversity of you know, just overall dirt profiles and just flavor?
I'll tell you, here's an interesting story, and I've never told it. I don't think I might have once, but I don't think so, not publicly. But it's interesting with our judges, and I think it's where things are going. In the old days, we had a 50-point score: 10 for smell, 10 for look, 10 for taste, and 10 for high. But the high was a double score, so it was weighted towards the high. So in my Neanderthal days, I was like, okay, it can look good or whatever else, but this is a beauty contest. It's got to get you high. So we're going to weight it towards that. And over the years, as we expanded and changed our scoring system to include the terpene profiles, whatnot, and really expanded it, and we expanded more judges from around the state, more females, and more people with indoor preferences because we brought indoor into the contest. It changed the complexion of the judging teams. And last year, we had a situation where for best of show, we had big farms, and we had the Rebel Grown from Double OG coming in, and we had the personal use, but it didn't. It was obviously it was down to these two from the beginning, and so normally we would smoke the two winners, the ones that were up against each other, and in this case. The judges jumped their gun and they were like, "No, we know what we're going to vote for. We know what it is. We're gonna vote." And Vicky was busy, and there was kind of a mutiny. And I don't want to say who did it, but we're going to make sure they don't do it this year. And there was a mutiny, and there was a vote before anybody smoked it, before there's anything. And boom, all of a sudden, and indoor won. Pig farm won with the blue face. And then we did a thing where it's like, well, why don't we smoke it? Okay, why don't we now smoke it? And we'll just now it's done. Let's light up the mystery joints and smoke them. So we did. Everybody smoked them and smoked them out. And the sun grown one, the double OG. And so then it was going to go to the double to Rebel Grown. But people were then saying that wasn't really fair, that it should have been done differently. And so I finally went, you know what? Okay, I don't want to have any complaints or gripes or anything throughout any of this. We're going to just straighten this out. And it wasn't just me, Vicky and Taylor. We all agreed that we were going to do a blind vote again. Everybody broken up at their homes on computers, and they were just going to vote and tell us what they're voting for. And the indoor one with big farms.
Hmm.
So for the first time in the judging, it had evolved to where the taste and the look held a little more sway than the high, than that knockout high. And I'm okay with that. That's what this group of judges came forward with. That's totally fine. But it points to your question of like, where's it going to go? Well, in our judging and our terpene profiles and what we're teaching people and what the Ganjier is teaching people and what the education is going out, it's starting to make a dent, and people are starting to look at that and say, okay, what is it? Okay. Now you still got the grind them out dispensary model of we need the highest THC, but even like in California, they're now going to finally regulate all those labs, because what happened with SC Labs was SC Labs is out there, the one honest lab, and they're not going above like 33 or 44%. And all these other labs are giving people 36, 38, 40% THC and whatnot. Cannabinoid levels are crazy. And so everybody's chasing that to get on their packaging. So if the whole thing became sick, the state is going to step in and do standardized testing. Then it's going to cut all that crap out. So that'll be like in a three-pronged step. The state's going to get rid of that crap. So we're going to get rid of that high overrated THC crap. We're coming at it with our judges and with our scoring system. The Ganjier is doing that also. Other people are doing that, Beer Bros, and it's making an impact, and it will get through. But it's amazing how ingrained something can get from like just one generation, 20 or 30 years of how much it can get pounded into people.
I'm interested to know how the average judge score compares in not in weight, not in weight, but overall in comparison. Have you the difference in a Ganjier card and a veteran, cannabis veterans in general, without the Ganjier certification? I mean, do you think that they know how are the? I guess the questions are the similarities in scorecards the same? It something to that effect. I mean,
I'll tell you, this is what it is. Okay, um, you can take the Ganjier effect out of it. I mean, we do have Nikki and Swami as Ganjiers, but overall, whether it's concentrates, the Ganjier is flower. But in any contest, okay, unless you're seeing a tremendous amount, and I would even put that to Nikki and Swami, okay, with Swami. It's hard for Swami to keep up with Nicole Powell, who buys for West Coast Leaf and had bought like 30,000 pounds of cannabis that she'd personally looked at, like every pound in the previous year, and smoked like 90% of it. Okay. How is somebody like Swami that just smokes his own pot and doesn't see anything ever? How is he going to compete with that as a judge? I don't care whether you're Ganjier, how am I going to compete with that? I used to be a great judge. I don't see that. I mean, these guys can look at something and tell you damn near the DNA genetic where it came, every damn thing about it. I mean, they're buyers from clubs. They're people that see shit all day long. So a Ganjier student, we have a Ganjier, they're kind of upset with us, some of them, because they keep applying, and a lot of them don't get in. We do have Ganjier people in, but we don't have a lot. But they don't understand. It's nothing personal, but you can't go just get a degree from the Ganjier and think you're going to go start judging at cannabis awards and stuff. You're competing against people that have been looking at cannabis day in and day out, every day of their life for like 10 or 20 years. I mean, how can you put, a Ganjier certificate up against a Nicole Powell or a Matty Chu or an Alec Dixon? I mean, I could name the names off of these people that look at cannabis day in and day out, all day long, smoking. Okay. They know every strain. They know every hot strain. They know every cold strain. They know everything. And it's like, I'm not there anymore. I'm the first one to admit that I can't. And that's why Nikki and Swami are gonna sunset out, because they can't either. It's hard for them to keep up. It really is. The judges, I'm really proud of our judges, and if you look at their backgrounds, man, they're beasts. It's like we have a lot of friends that begged. Look, we have a lot of friends that begged to be on the flowers judging team, and we have to look at them seriously. Like, can these people hang with these people? I mean, this is like an all-star crowd. This is Sherbinsky. You got Guy from Pop and Barclays. You got, Alec Dixon. You got John Capetta from High Times, Nicole Powell. I mean, the list, they're all just, brilliant people. I'm humbled to be around them. I'll tell you what, I'm humbled. I listen to all the contests. I listen in, you know, I can't keep up with any of I can't keep up with topicals or tell you the best, tinctures or keep up with tinctures. I don't do that. I can't do that. But I can listen into all them and listen to their brilliance and be humbled by it and be honored to have the quality of judges that we find to pick out. We had over 400 applications this year for 90 judges. So, and our returning judges have to apply too.
That's amazing. That in itself I find to be hugely, hugely respectable, to be honest with you. Uh, I've judged quite a few cups. This last year I did five. And the reason why I asked why, like, my judge vote versus the Ganjier, the difference there was kind of intentional. I wanted to see you know what I mean? So I'm glad to hear the honesty on that. But
Well,
moreover,
wait,
I see a lot.
wait, hold on a second. Wait, I want to get back to that. But why were you saying that? Because you've dealt with Ganjier people
Well, I've been
or
on the same in the same bill while
huh?
Gangier's been, part of the billing, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I guess there was actually a difference, I guess, or separate seemed to be a separation, you know what I mean? This is what the Gangiers shows, is kind of what the rest of, you know what I mean? There was, yeah, I don't know. There seemed to be a clear cut difference between General and Gangier, I guess, in that instance. So
Well, put
that
it
was,
this way, if you're yeah, well, I mean, if you're truly, without saying anything against Ganjier, but if you're truly a master cannabis person, then you wouldn't need to go to Ganjier because you'd already have it in there. You've been there for 10, 15 years. Now you can get that and then go spend 10 or 15 years and go get it. But you still, even because you got the certificate, you still got to go put the 10 years in of learning the subtleties of, uh, I want to film the flowers judging. I want to see if we can do it this year. Because when you listen to the judges talk about the subtleties and the differences between different terpene profiles and different cultivars and different things, and the mastery of the lineage of going back. Oh, this came from blah, 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 blah. It's just, you could film that, man. And I'll tell you what, cannabis freaks would watch that. Every one of them would watch that because it's just a brilliant lesson in an education.
no,
You
I
know?
love the process. I love the
Yeah.
process, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like super anal about the process too. Uh, when it comes to like samples, I'll tell you my process right here. I like to do it with a few friends with my kid, and I take pictures of everything as I look at them. Nobody's allowed to touch it till I get my pictures, whatever. And then as I open up my samples, uh, I do my overall kind of assessment and take my notes, and then I'll pass it to the next person. And nobody's allowed to say anything until it goes around the room.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And then it's one, two, three. What'd you get? Because I definitely am I pretty, I believe if I open it up and go, pineapple, and then pass it around, 90% of the room or whoever's going to sniff that bag is going to already feel pineapple. So if you know what I mean, if you don't say anything, and then the one, two, three, now what's the general consensus? 3 out of 4 got lemon. I got pineapple. You know what I mean? So I like to do kind of like a blind but overall consensus because people, we do pick up general different notes. The same, it's you can pass around the same bud, and people will pick up different notes on that same sample. And it's interesting to see what people pick up on the very same sample. But the judging process, I believe, is a very serious thing and should be taken seriously. But it's nice to know in 20 years in, you're still the integrity of the judging process and your competition is still there. A lot of
You know,
competition, I guess, that I've seen over the years, it's more about the generation of the dollar than the overall integrity of the award, I guess is what I'm trying to say right here. Because, it's so easy. You've seen, and again, I no comparison, and I brought them up once, but I'll say it again because it's shit. It to me, when you have a cup and you can necessarily, kind of buy your way into a judge's position. You know what I mean? Does that you know what I mean? Kind of, I don't know. Does that risk the integrity over the overall judgment? I guess.
you know what? We bring in outside people every year to objectively look at what we do. We brought John Capetta in. High Times wanted to see what we do. Hey, why don't you bring John Capetta in? He can be a judge. You'll let a High Times guy come in and be the judge? Sure, come in. Capetta left, man. Ask him what he thinks. Then he knows we're the real deal. There's no fucking around, and it's like we're serious. And it's like when you see that table and you see those people going at it, they're going at whether something's 17 or 18 and 19 because becoming top 20 means something. And they're sitting there down to the last hour debating things and all these different terpene profiles and going around it and really trying to give everything the best possible chance to be fair. And when you have 20 people and that many different palates and preferences, it's a beautiful thing because you have to come to some agreements. Of course, there's votes and stuff, but you try to do the best you can, and it's a beautiful process. And people are transcending, and they're really trying to do the right thing. Um, and it means a lot for people. That that difference between winning and losing, especially in the branded ones, because a lot of people see they get the branded cartridges, they know what they're smoking. They've got the cartridges, or they've got the topicals, or they know what it is. Yeah, you can't hide it.
I'm sure that 100% people that enter that cup, there's a reason why there's 800 entries. You know what I mean? Because this cup still has, you know, integrity, weight to it. It's still an event that has, it's still going, and it means something to people. You know what I mean? I guarantee the people that walk away with an award from the Emerald Cup still hang that very high on their shelf. You know what I mean? That's an award. that's that's an award. You know what I mean? I would put that on huge if I whoever or whoever won that award. And
Yeah, well, um, we're proud of it. It's a beautiful thing. My daughter's taken over more. She took over the meetings now. My daughter has always been running with me, but this year I let her start running the meetings, and it was just ceremonial in a way, but it's really not, and it's really beautiful. Like it's the changing of the guard, going to the 20th. I'll still be there, but it's time for my daughter to step into that, and we got an all-lady team except for Jack. We got an amazing team of people, and yeah, and so it's really cool to see them taking charge.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
it is.
Just to see cannabis be a bi-generational thing. You know what I mean? I hope that there's some days that we see 100-year farms. You know what I mean? Family farms. It'd be nice to see a centennial cannabis farm someday. You know?
Yeah, well, we will. If we stick around long enough and get those stem cells and the med beds, we're going to be there. And tell you what, the ETs are going to like our cannabis. Think we're going to be shipping cannabis around the universe. Probably psychedelics too.
That'd be awesome. Be proud. We're already pretty proud of our cannabis. interstellar cannabis would be nice. What do you think interstellar cannabis would offer on their side? I mean, if we match them with an alien, it's got to be worthy, right?
Well, that would be one of my first questions is they so high that they don't need cannabis or psychedelics? Are they beyond that place, or do they still enjoy, you know, a good joint, a good dab, a good psychedelic? I don't know. I mean, where are they on the food chain? Kind of the interesting ones that are coming in.
It's an interesting thought all on its own right there. Yeah, I've never even thought about that, but they may be beyond that.
Who knows? But who knows? We'll see. But it's going to be a very interesting year. It's going to be great. Yeah, you make it out. We'll take care of you for sure. Um, there are good things. The water's coming back. The chemtrails have stopped. The rain is pouring outside right now. We're getting rain like once they stop the chemtrails, the whole West Coast watered up, and we're getting rain like we used to get. And so the wildlife and the animals are coming back. We are never supposed to grow this much cannabis in the Emerald Triangle. So that's really a healthy thing. Like I said, people are being scattered to the winds and growing all over the world because that's what we did. We drove people out of here and they're all over the world. So it's really in the end not a bad thing, and it's going to all be okay. And you know, do you know Tori Biz in Michigan or Leo Stone from Aficionado?
No, neither.
Tori is tied in. She's right there near where's Flint, right? I think right at Flint. And she did a Breeders' Cup there, and she knows everybody. Um, and she, I was just thinking about you, and it popped in my head. You should meet her because she does events, multiple events. She's a brilliant woman, and she has uh, issues herself, health issues that she's really focused on specific types of genetics for her health issues. That's going to go away, darn thing.
Yeah, that'd be
Um,
awesome.
yeah, so she's there where you are. There in what is it, Grant Rapids, or Rapids? What is that?
Grand Rapids is on the west side of the state there, not too far from me. I head that way quite a bit. I'm in Holton Lake these days, but I'm from Genesee County, Flint area originally. So,
They're on the water. Anyway, I'll connect you with him because Leo won the cup. He's got like top five finishes. He's got a genetics company. He's based there now in Michigan with his cultivation. His lady Tori is a wonderful, wonderful woman. She did either the Breeders' Cup or one of the Michigan Cups. She brought everybody together on, and she's an event planner. She knows everybody. She's a geneticist, and she's really specialized in her own health journey. And she's an amazing person. They both are, and you should know them. They would be they'd be good people for you. You should have them on. I mean, you should have them on your show. They're incredible. Leo is an award-winning, just aficionado, and all the stuff he's won with his genetics and his concentrates and his seeds and everything. Incredible.
yeah, I would please make that bridge. I'd be more than welcome, more than happy to meet and yeah. It sounds like there's some good advice there to be had for me anyway. It on in the event planning. I've got tons of questions on just a personal event, much less any event period. But yeah,
You know, there's a lot of people have no idea how much energy goes into an event, making sure that everything is right, just and making sure everybody shows up. You know, I mean, Nikki, my partner, you know, Swami and Nikki, when she was doing events with me, she would call people like 4 times to remind them. Okay, even after they RSVP'd, she'd call them 3 more times. And you know what? We get like a 95% show up rate. You know, me, I'll leave like one random message and then people don't show up. Or I just like, you know, there's just so many details, the look, the feel, what it is, how you state it. And nowadays with social media, there's so much of that too.
Oh, there it is. I've been actually working a little bit with the local chamber of commerce here in my small town, and we've had a annual event tip up town here in my city here, where it's like a winter carnival on the lake, and just they'll be this is their 57th year, I believe, and just for them to keep this event alive, watching them scramble and because of the weather and whatnot. Wow. I can't imagine what it's like to put on like an Emerald Cup. You know what I mean? Yeah, no, these people don't sleep at night until, you know what I mean, until it's said and done and in the bag there. I can't imagine, the sleepless nights leading up to the event that you have, to be honest.
I'll tell you what, it's a roller coaster ride. It's not for the faint. It's like everything, it all became big. So people can go out here on the West Coast, they can go to Bottle Rock, or they can go to Outside Lands, or they can go to Coachella, and they can spend $300 or $400, and they can get 3 days worth of unbelievable music. And then all of a sudden you go to these smaller shows like ours, and you got to charge close to that. And it's like, we're lucky because we're a cup and where we are, but that's why all the smaller shows are getting beaten up, because it's really hard to compete with those big shows. You know, they offer so much. And so what the events on the West Coast have done, like in San Francisco, the Midway, which can take about 3,000 people, what they're doing is they're doing these mini parties where instead of having even to go to the forest or out to the woods for 3 days, you can come see a really great EDM band or two and party all day on a Saturday or Sunday, and then go home. And it just costs you the $60 or the $70 and parking, and then you go home. And that's become like the way to compete with the 3 day camping events, that are bigger, that used to be out there in the woods. And it's like the whole thing is really it's challenging.
It is. I can't even imagine. Me myself, I prefer the campers. I like the 3 day events myself. You know what I mean? Again, I like the breaking the bread, the whole experience of spending, the weekend with my friends and whatnot. It's a way different experience, way different experience. And a lot of times the event itself's great and it's the draw, but the camaraderie, the bonds, you know what I mean? It's the nighttime leading up to the next day. You know what I mean? That's what that makes some of them really super great camping events, super awesome. But
I agree. You know what? Anybody that's done a camping event, I went to Northern Nights. Northern Nights is an EDM electronic festival north of here. And my friends have been inviting me there for years. And I finally saw a couple of my other friends that are more my age. And they said, you know what, Tim, we started coming here 5 years ago and it changed our life. We were like old fuddy duddies. And all of a sudden we started going to this thing and realizing what an amazing thing to go sit around and hang out with people for 3 days and just meet new people and eat with people and just do this thing. And I went, I said, yeah, I'm going to do it. So I went and did it. And it was an amazing experience. I've forgotten what it was like to just hang out for like 4 days with people, camping out, eating, relaxing, kicking back, breaking bread. I mean, by the time you leave, you're like close friends with like, you know, it's just incredible.
it is, it is. Anymore, I don't try to rush those times either. You know what I mean? My time, my time. I don't know if it's age these days, but man, I've realized the time is the most valuable thing. You know what I mean? The gratefulness, the time I spend with any, person, or you know what I mean. It has weight. You know what I mean? I take weight in every conversation. Any time spent with people these days. I don't try to rush it or discount it.
You know what you're talking about there when you're describing that feeling when you're camping? That's how people are going to live full time. It's going to be like they're camping again. They're going to be like living a natural life where um, it's just going to be different, you know. And I remember it in the 50s and when I was in the 60s, that this innocent life where it was just so rich and full and easy,
We
you
get
know.
there.
Oh no, it's gonna be, it's coming. It is, it's coming. Just like this rain is coming. Just like your show is coming. Just like our show, the Emerald Cup. Nothing stopped it, and this is going to be the proudest moment for me ever. That I'm still in control of the Emerald Cup, and we paid all that money back, and we're going to stand on that stage with the winners in Oakland and have some incredible parties with these amazing people. There'll be stuff Friday night, Saturday night, and then we'll party all night Sunday night.
Coming to shake your hand this year. Coming to shake your hand this year, Tim.
Yeah,
Mark
come on, you can
that.
stand on the stage. Come on, you can go stand on the stage and check it out. It'll be the place.
I don't have to stand on the stage. All I want to do is shake your hand, my friend. I'm good with that. Good with that. With that being said, man, I think this is a good time to wrap this one up. This has been a great episode. I can see as I can been watching Chad all night long. This has been a good episode. They've loved this as much as I have.
Did you see it? No. I was wondering, we didn't really go towards the cannabis. We went into this whole other realm of all kinds of stuff. And I started thinking, man, I don't know what people, do they respond to that? Or is it more like we should have stuck to cannabis and psychedelics?
And everybody's enjoyed it for one, and I enjoy it. You know what I mean? That's what I love to do here is get to know people deeper. You know what I mean? We people like to see the real you. You know what I mean? The side and that's what they got to see tonight, man. They've got to see, genuine laid back
Shit.
conversation, and I, I
You know, we didn't hold bars tonight. I didn't, I didn't hold back on that note, did I?
no,
Uh, people got a real good glimpse, little preview of what's going to be coming.
it was
So
good
hold on.
conversation. And I'm looking forward to the next one. If you want to do it again real soon, we can do another one, talk just straight cannabis if you want. But these
I'll take
conversations I like myself. So
you watch. We're sitting here, it's January. We'll keep in touch. You get out here, and by July, there'll be so much going on in the world. It's probably we'll have time to talk and do some good stuff. Will be a good update for this by then. You watch this next 6 months. Hold on to your hats, man. Because I'll tell you what, it could be what we're being told is they could surrender as much as like 2 months from now. So we could be having like a true announcement and awakening to the world as soon as like by the Emerald Cup. I mean, it could be like a true like revolution already turning over by then. So if not, we're still going to be what we're going to see is going to be phenomenal. So we'll see July, middle of summer. We'll check it out. But you look great. Keep the running up. I like the the American patch there. Man, I love veterans. I love Americans. I'm telling you, every shape, size.
running up. I got another race coming up. I signed up one for one today, February 3rd. I'm going to do an 8K in Frankenbooth, Michigan. I'm going to go to Frankenbooth, Michigan and run an 8K. Slowly work. I didn't tell you this. I'm working my way up to a marathon in July is what I'm trying to do.
Whoa,
So
that's cool. Yeah.
hopefully by
Well,
the
what?
time I see you in May, I'm gonna be in amazing shape and well on my way to, running that 26.2.
You know what? Every one of those is a transcendental moment. Like going from like when you get to that runner's high, that second wind, you get to that 5, 6, 7 mile mark. When you get out to that 16 mile mark, you do that same thing. When you get up into that 24 mile, I mean, I've never gotten 26, but I'll tell you, I've got 15, 16. But I've talked to my uncle who did a lot of them. You really get the ultimate runner's high. And like he'd say, you want to get the ultimate, you do that marathon and you're going to feel, not only you're going to feel like proud of yourself and just a rush from doing it, but that high in there as you're pulling that off. Yeah, you'll do
That
it.
was amazing feat for me. As I kind of hinted to as pre show. A lot has changed for me in the last few years. A lot. I mean, upside down, round, upside backwards. I mean, and at the worst moment, I decided I was gonna take on this running race thing again. And crossing that finish line was one of the greatest and proudest moments of my life. Moreover, it showed me that at any point in my life, in anybody's life, you can turn around and take the reins and take hold, and you know what I mean. But that showed me crossing that finish line showed me that I still at 51 years old had the strength, the gump to set a goal, and you know what I mean, see it through. And it made me feel like I could do anything. Crossing that line, even if it would have been last place, I still would have felt the same. I can do anything. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna keep pushing forward, and I look forward to each one of those increments as I go forward because I like even though as we talked about that 5K is shorter than that 10K, I learned something. I learned something. There was something there for me to take away from that achievement, and I sure do. I learned something every time.
Well, yeah, once you get the 10K down, then you're getting closer and you're getting ready that close to that marathon. And then you build up, you realize what it takes and you feel comfortable with it. You get ready to jump at that marathon and then you leap off that sucker. And that'll be an amazing thing. I'll tell you what, you'll do it. You'll do it. And we'll have that to go through too. So we'll
Right
see.
on.
But it's, you know what, wherever you're doing with your life, it sounds like between even on the treadmill, you're doing your meditation, you're doing your clarity, you're sitting here doing this show, you're going forward. You seem like you're doing pretty well, even for all the changes you're going through.
It's definitely been a rebirth. And you know what I mean? I'm going through that Phoenix phase myself, my friend. I'm looking forward to the other side. So hopefully, no, hopefully I'll see you at the other pro this year. That's if I'm my manifestation for this year. I will see you in good health and
Well,
ready for that race in July.
yeah, you do it, and I'll hook you up with Tori and Leo. You're gonna love them. You're gonna
Yeah,
love these people.
I would greatly appreciate that.
Oh,
With that being
yeah,
said, before you go, I need one last thing from you. And I don't know if I
sure.
got it last time. The silly soundbite. You know, basically what I'm looking for is, hey, this is Eagle, and I'm on fucking talking shit with Eagle, episode 832 this time. Uh Let me get my recording going here so I can clip this out. At some point, this will be a commercial for this episode. Where in the heck
You want to
is
say Tim, right? Not Eagle. You want to say Tim Blake, right? This is Tim
yeah,
Blake
yeah,
talking
yeah.
shit with
Yeah, yeah.
you. Yeah, I got it.
No,
Just like you want me to play some game. But so
no,
okay,
no.
please. Okay, so this is Tim Blake talking shit with Eagle, episode 834.
Yes, sir. Let me get my recording going here. There you go.
I was just practicing anyway.
There you go. I'm ready if you are.
Okay, I gotta get that off me. Hey, this is Tim Blake talking shit with Eagle, episode 834.
Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate your time and look forward to our next conversation 100%.
Anything you need, man, let me know. I've got your back, and I'm gonna hook you up with those people. You should definitely have both of them on at the same time. Or Leo, he's a when you get his background, he's a genius. I'll give you the background and send it to you.
That would be amazing. Thank you so much. And again, where can they find tickets for the Emerald Cup? And the links are
Uh,
in the description,
at
but
at theemeraldcup.com. At theemeraldcup.com. You'll find the link right in there, or go to C's Tickets.
thank you guys very much for tuning in. And don't forget the most important part, do something nice for somebody. Random acts of kindness do save lives. I thank you again, Tim, for your time. It is the most valuable thing we have, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Have a good
You
night.
too, brother.